Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Fricke, and welcome to the 5th episode of Movie Changeup, where every week two people go head-to-head pitching reboots to 9 movies we all love and love to hate, but with a little added twist. Because every week there are also 9 rules they must follow. 1 rule per movie, and you can't use a rule more than once. Now, if you're watching on the YouTube version, you may see a new face. We have decided to add a consulting judge. The consulting judge is allowed to ask questions to the competitors and give any input that may help me decide the winner, but I still control who wins. Consulting judge, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, my name is Alex. I'm a former roommate of 2 of the contestants, but I won't say who, so you don't know who I get biased to.
All right, and now our first competitor currently has his 0-2 record and has lost on the last pitch both times. Bobby, introduce yourself and tell everyone how you're feeling.
Oh, I'm Bobby Mitchell, and you know what? I'm doing well. I'm just missing it on that very last one, so I got to try to turn it around. I have some interesting pitches this week, so let's see how it goes.
All right, and our other competitor is currently 2-1 and our number 1 ranked competitor. He's coming off a win last week. Johnny, introduce yourself and tell everyone how much you paid Bobby off with last week to rob me of an undefeated record.
Well, I'm Johnny Doop. I didn't need to pay Bobby off because I just crushed Joe like a grape last week. It was really easy. My pitches were powerful, and Bobby wanted a gay soldier romance that the world needed for small soldiers, so that helped. That helped my cause.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So before we start, if you're listening to us through a podcast app, go to YouTube and find this episode of Movie Changeup. Give us a thumbs up, a comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, go to your favorite podcast app, download this episode, and give us a rating and review. If you think we gave you a 5-star podcast, give us a 5-star review. If you think we gave you a 4, 3, 2, or even a 1-star podcast, be a bro and still give us that 5-star review. Now, our 9 movies today are 2004's Catwoman, 1996's Jingle All the Way, 1993's Jurassic Park, 2008's Hancock, 2005's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2001's Rat Race, 1996's Space Jam, 1981's Stripes, and 1986's The Three Amigos. And Alex, do you want to read our 9 rules for today?
Yes, we have rule number 1. 1 must be a horror movie. 1 must have an actor's career resurrected. The lead actor must perform the movie's theme song. Number 4, 1 must have a tearjerker ending. Number 5, 1 must have a $300 million budget. Number 6, 1 must star Nicolas Cage. Number 7, 1 must include Tom Hardy as Bane. Number 8, 1 must be set in the Fast and the Furious universe. And number 9, 1 must be a foreign film.
All right, and if anyone needs a refresher, the rules and movies are in the description. And if you're watching live, please feel free to comment, and we will respond during the stream. Now, we determined who would start before the show, and that is Johnny. So, Johnny, what movie are you picking, and who's going first?
All right, the movie I'm starting with today is a classic of my childhood, but a movie that doesn't hold up too well. It's going to be Jingle All the Way, and I'm going to have Bobby do his pitch first. Also, Alex, I respect that your cat jumped right on the screen as soon as Joe said Catwoman, so that was pretty cool.
We timed that.
A lot of practice involved.
So, Jingle All the Way is a 1996 movie. It earned a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wikipedia describes it as a 1996 American Christmas family comedy film directed by Brian Levitt. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as workaholic Howard Langston and Sinbad as postal worker Myron Larrabee as 2 rival fathers, both desperately trying to purchase a Turbo Man action figure for their respective sons on last-minute shopping spree on Christmas Eve. So, Bobby, what did you have for Jingle All the Way?
All right, so my Jingle All the Way is going to be directed by Kay Cannon. She directed the movie Blockers, which I really enjoyed. It was a pretty raunchy R-rated comedy with a lot of heart to it. Bring that family kind of essence to the movie. My Howard Langston, who is Arnold, is going to be Donald Glover. My Myron Larrabee, who is Sinbad, is going to be Keegan-Michael Key. My Ted, who is the neighbor, is Ike Barinholtz, who was in Blockers and was very good in that one as well. Liz Langston, the wife, is going to be played by Emmy Raver Lampton from the Umbrella Academy, which I just finished season 2, and that was great. She plays Allison in that, and she was also a Broadway star. And then as the son, I have Jamie Langston. For the son, Jamie Langston, I have Jabrail Nantambu, who is in the 2018 Halloween movie. And he was really funny in that. I don't know if the comedy necessarily fit, but it would fit in this movie. Because I'm making this an R-rated comedy. And also my rule, the lead actor is going to perform the theme song, so that's going to be Donald Glover. And that can have features from Keegan-Michael Key and Emmy Raver Lampman in it because she's a Broadway star and can sing, and Keegan-Michael Key can put some pretty funny lines in there. So I think you could get a pretty funny new Christmas song into that. So basically, like I said, my movie is going to be an R-rated version with a lot of heart. Blockers is really funny and raunchy, and it doesn't need to quite get as raunchy as that, but still R-rated humor. It's going to be a little bit more relevant nowadays because superheroes are pretty much the biggest thing in the world. They're going to be put into some more ridiculous situations. So, he's going to see, they're going to do all they can to get this Turbo Man, and they see one in the back of a car. They see someone has the box, and they follow him, and he ends up at a strip club. So they go into the strip club, and a lot of hijinks ensue, and they realize that it was actually just a trick for a bachelor party. They were joking that they were giving him a Turbo Man, and it was a bunch of singles for the strip club. Things like that. It's going to be pretty, fast-paced, funny. Keegan-Michael Key can do that Sinbad kind of vibe without being Sinbad. And a very, very different lead with Donald Glover. I think he can bring some moments of drama and all with the family elements into it, and also some comedy. And you get some comedy also in there from the neighbor, Ted, who is obviously like Barinholtz. And I just think this, because the original movie is not a classic by any means. Like, our generation maybe grew up with it and loves it, but kids are not going to be like, oh, I really want to go see this remake of Jingle All the Way. So it's not for kids. It's for people that remember this movie and are old enough to now see an R-rated comedy. So that's my pitch.
All right. Johnny, tell us about your Jingle All the Way.
All right, Bobby and I went little different directions on this one. My director is also the star of my movie, Nicolas Cage, as Howard Langston. So I'll just read my pitch.
So is that your rule, Nicolas Cage?
My rule is that I'm making this a Nicolas Cage movie, and we're going all out because he's also directing it. Howard Langston, played by Nicolas Cage, is a workaholic who barely spends time with his son, Jamie. Who better to play Nicolas Cage's son than a de-aged Nicolas Cage? So he plays the son as well. And he wants to prove his love for Jamie during Christmas time. So he must do this by getting Jamie the hottest toy in the world, Turbo Man. Howard goes through trivial adventures to try and get the toy on Christmas Eve, which culminates in him donning the Turbo Man costume in the Christmas Eve parade and battling his arch rival Myron, played by Anthony Anderson, dressed as Turbo Man's enemy, Dementor. In the end, Howard wins the toy and gives it to Jamie, but Jamie says he does not want the toy. All he ever wanted was for his dad to be there for him. Howard then says, "So I did this all for nothing? Fuck off, kid," and flies away in his Turbo Man jetpack. And he becomes Turbo Man. So that's my movie. It's a Nicolas Cage movie winning his son's love, which is also Nicolas Cage.
All right. Alex, do you have any questions for either of them?
I don't know how you could.
A lot more. Second pitch.
All right. Yeah, if you got a question.
First of all, actually, this is for Bobby.
Yep.
Actually, both of you, I guess. Do you intend to have the Big Show still play a large Santa in the movie?
Of course.
I mean, why not? There's really no reason not to.
Good, yes.
No, Bobby's movie, Big Show's a stripper.
that was
I'm
one
helping
example,
you, but I shouldn't.
all. That would be pretty good.
I would actually love that. And I guess for the R-rated version of this, so is it really at that point, do you need to tell the same story? I feel like that's not an R-rated comedy story. I guess what's the reasoning behind wanting to make it that way instead of more, at least like PG-13?
Because mostly because of my director and how much I enjoyed her tone for Blockers and the mixture, because there was a lot of family, like actually really good family moments and like, drama in there thrown in with this really crazy raunchy comedy. And, you're not trying to make this appeal to the whole family because no one really remembers this movie except for a certain generation. So everyone in that generation loves the new, like they're old enough to watch R-rated comedies. So that's kind of what I went for.
All right.
Gotcha.
And Is that all the questions you had, Alex?
For right now, you can go ahead.
All right. So, Bobby, my question for you is like, is there a scene where Donald Glover like puts on the Turbo Man costume and flies around?
I mean, yeah, you have all that stuff in there. You have, and it's not,
Okay.
it's still kind of crazy and goofy, but at the same time, you can add a different level of comedy, so it's not quite as out of the blue, I guess, as that first one.
Yeah. All right. And Johnny, my question for you is why DH Nicolas Cage and not just a kid?
Because I want it to be full on Nicolas Cage movie, right? So Jingle All the Way, like Bobby said, it's not like it has like all this nostalgia behind it, right? Like the movie
for you maybe, but for me it's in my heart.
Okay, like you love it, right? And I loved it when I was a kid, but if you watch it now, it's the most insane movie, and instead of trying to like take that narrative and make it into like a real comedy, I want to go deeper into the craziness of Jingle All the Way. In that movie, you have Sinbad literally blow up a police station with a bomb and a mail, like he literally puts it in the mail at a freaking post office. Like he's a literal terrorist. And at the end, Arnold Schwarzenegger is just like, hey, here's the toy, go give it to your kid. And like this whole movie, while like the whole movie is basically about, I need to get this toy. My son only wants this toy. That's all he ever wanted. And then at the end, it was like, the kid's just like, oh no, Dad, you're the real Turbo Man now. Cause he saw him in costume. So I'm like, all right, let's get rid of like this storyline being like a real movie and let's just get weird with it. So I want like a DH Nicolas Cage. I want Nicolas Cage. He's only directed one movie, which was I think like Sunny back in the day. I'm giving it to him. We're making it just as weird as can be. And it's going to be for people like me and you who still like Jingle All the Way, even though it's weird. But I wanted to embrace the craziness of the movie, the Big Show as giant Santa and like a little person playing a Santa that gets hit and, flies across the room. Like I want more of that.
All right. Before you guys start debating with each other, I'm going to say, Johnny, if you had cast a kid as the kid, I'd like yours a lot better, but yours is just almost too crazy that I feel like you're fighting an uphill battle here. So I think you're really going to have to sell me on the craziness of your movie. So I'm going to let you guys fight it out.
All right. So Johnny was talking for a little bit there, so I'm going to go. For one thing, you didn't embrace all the craziness you could have done. If you're going to have a de-aged Nicolas Cage play his son, then he needs to play every character and just have it be like being John Malkovich or something.
Hey, well, I thought about that, but I was thinking about putting him in blackface as Myron, but I was like, nah, that's too much. Can't do that. So we ain't going to do that. We're going to just
he doesn't have to be black. He doesn't have to wear blackface.
He doesn't have to be, but representation matters.
No,
so I wanted to get a little weird just with the kid thing. And like, who's playing Nicolas Cage's kid realistically? I don't believe that kid's freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger's son in the first one. So like,
you don't think Anakin is his son?
No, like that kid is bad. And like kid actors are mostly bad. So I'm putting in Nicolas Cage to be crazy as a kid. I don't need kids in this movie. It's not for kids. It's for me. All right. And I want to see Nicolas Cage de-aged. That would be so funny. He could play all the Santas other than the Big Show for all I care.
But okay, but because the shtick is just Nicolas Cage as the son, but the rest of it is not quite like that. You're kind of like his voice is going to be modulated and weird to try to be a kid, or he's going to be doing like some weird falsetto thing, and it's just not going to look right because he's going to be on its really tiny body. So it doesn't fit your movie.
Yeah, it'll look like Little Man.
And like Nicolas Cage can be entertaining.
All right,
he's not
Alex,
a director.
Do you have anything you need to add to this?
No, but that actually helped me, you comparing it to Little Man. I'm sorry.
I know.
Alex.
That was for Alex.
Alex, how are you feeling? What are you thinking here?
To be honest, I don't love either pitch because I want it to. I'm not super into I think a lot of these R movies that have been coming out lately, I think they just go over the top. Like they tried so hard for shock humor. Yeah. And that's what I'd be worried of happening. But I think if I were to go away, I would go with Bobby's. I think is more of a story that I would actually want to see. I'm not sure how I'd feel about Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage's son.
Yeah.
I actually think if I was going to put Nicolas Cage in that movie, I would want it to be like, have the same feel as like a National Treasure type movie or something like that. And I don't know exactly how you do that, but like, just that.
Oh, he finds Turbo Man clues like on buildings. That's all
you do.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna do some sort of like a Nicolas Cage movie with Jingle All the Way, that's how I want it to be.
Well, like Nicolas Cage's best movies now are like Mandy and these crazy performances, and I just wanted to do that, but have him do like something new. You know, he can play like that straight man, and then he's also like little man style Nicolas Cage.
All right. So, yeah, I have my ruling. I agree with both Bobby and Alex, where Bobby's movie is just more viable and it seems more like a movie I want to see. And I think, Johnny, you either should have cast a kid as Nicolas Cage's kid or cast Nicolas Cage as everybody. And I probably would have went with your pick, but just a normal, like, but slightly weird movie. And then Nicolas Cage is randomly playing his own kid would just be weird and throw me out of the movie every time he came on screen. And I kind of like Bobby's idea of like no kid cares about Jingle All the Way. So we're going to take the people that originally cared about Jingle All the Way and make a movie for them. So I am going with Bobby's pitch, Jingle All the Way. So Johnny,
That's fair.
As we know, this means nothing. As
I forgot. I'm going to be honest. I wrote the D8 Nicolas Cage thing last night. And I forgot I did that until I was pitching. And I was like, all right, well, we're going with it. We ain't changing it. We've gone too far.
The rule I would have done is I would have resurrected Macaulay Culkin's career as the dad and just done it as like a Safdie Brothers movie. Of just like him like stressed out.
I would never want to see the Safdie Brothers do the Jingle All the Way movie.
I do.
They're too good at doing original shit. I don't want them to do that. That was what I was going to say about Bobby's. I didn't really fight his because I knew mine was not going to win. But like, I did not want to see Bobby's movie.
All right. So what are we going with, Johnny?
All right. You know what? Let's go with Hancock. It's next alphabetically, so that helps me. And you know what? I'll go first since Bobby started last time.
All right. So Hancock, it received a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wikipedia describes it as a 2008 American superhero film directed by Peter Berg and starring Will Smith, Charlize Theron, and Jason Bateman. It tells the story of a vigilante superhero, John Hancock, played by Will Smith, from Los Angeles, whose reckless actions routinely cost the city millions of dollars. Eventually, one person he saves, Ray Embry, played by Bateman, makes it his mission to change Hancock's public image for the better. There you go. That's what Hancock is.
All right. Now, I want to start this off by saying the first half of Hancock is great. I really enjoy that movie up until basically there's a reveal that Charlize Theron is also like some weird superhero, and it goes into this shitty origin story, and the movie just completely falls apart in the second half. So I'm going to embrace with this one more the tone of the first half of that movie, the cool stuff. Like I like the idea of like a homeless superhero and someone trying to teach him how to be a good guy. So for my Hancock, we're going with Michael B. Jordan, who's great in everything. He was, in Creed and Black Panther and a bunch of movies. My Ray, which was originally Jason Bateman, the one showing Hancock how to be a superhero, I'm changing that to the role of a kid, and he's going to be played by Miles Brown, who's a kid in Blackish. And then my director is going to be Ryan Coogler, who did Creed and Fruitvale Station and Black Panther. So my pitch is this. In a futuristic and dystopian Detroit city, a homeless man with superpowers named Hancock is just trying to get through his hopeless life. He forms a connection with a young boy named Ray after stopping drug dealers from killing him. Ray shows Hancock how to be a superhero and provides meaning to his life. The kid films Hancock breaking up crimes and saving civilians, but they are noticed by an evil drug kingpin. Ray is then kidnapped, and Hancock goes after him. Hancock rescues Ray and stops most of the bad guys. And here's my rule. I'm giving this movie a tearjerker ending. So Hancock stops most of the bad guys until the kingpin, with his last dying action, fires a shot at Hancock, but misses. Hancock jumps in, stomps the kingpin's neck. He turns to see Ray, the kid who was shown him how to use his powers, laying down in the street and bleeding. Hancock holds the kid in his arms, crying as Ray passes away. Hancock swears to never let another innocent person die again and becomes the superhero he was always meant to be. And my drug lord is played by Don Cheadle.
All right. Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Bobby.
All right. So mine, although not bizarre, is very different than that tearjerker movie. So my Hancock is going to be directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did Kingsman, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, all that stuff. And this movie is going to be more in the tone of the first Kingsman movie. My Hancock, and this is my rule, is going to be played by someone that Matthew Vaughn has worked with before, and that is Nicolas Cage. So he is my homeless superhero. My Ray Embry, who is Jason Bateman, is going to be played by Paul Rudd. The Mary Embry, who is Charlize Theron, is going to be played by Rashida Jones from The Office, Parks and Rec. I Love You, Man. She's also in The Social Network. And this movie is really interesting to me because I was really excited for this. And I absolutely hated it because of the second half of the movie and had to see it like 3 or 4 times in theaters because everyone wanted to go see the new Will Smith movie. And I was just happened to be with that group. But I really love the premise and I really love the tone of that first half. And I think if you bring Matthew Vaughn's tone to this movie throughout, so with Kingsman, where he is telling actually a dramatic story, but but the comedy still fits and the kind of the ridiculousness stuff still fits. So when you have that crazy, like when you have the action in the second half of the movie, it still fits the tone of the first half instead of being this dramatic, weird change. Because the first half has quite a bit of comedy and then it just goes away. It's just, we're going to have this weird twist and they were superheroes for 300 years or whatever that is. So basically, it's going to be Matthew Vaughn's tone, like Kingsman, and then Nicolas Cage he's going to have the long hair like he did in like Con Air, and he could look exactly like a homeless superhero. I think he and Paul Rudd would have really good chemistry, and Nicolas Cage could have his freakouts and some of the stuff that makes him need that PR guy. That's the whole thing of Jason Bateman's character. He's the PR guy for Will Smith. And that one, Will Smith, is just because he's a dick to people. In this, Nicolas Cage is because he says weird, outrageous stuff, kind of like you might see with someone who's just lived on the streets and is trying to do the right thing, but people don't like him. So I just think the tone of a Matthew Vaughn movie works perfect for Nicolas Cage. He can have his freak out moments, he can go crazy, but also bring an actual dramatic style and give a good performance like he did in Kick-Ass under Matthew Vaughn.
All right. Alex, you got any questions for them?
Yeah, Johnny. What's the reason behind, I know obviously the kid is who dies, but what's the reason behind having him be the kind of mentor rather than having it where in the first one, Jason Bateman has a family and things like that?
So
it being his son, like why would you,
No, I get what you mean. So the reason I changed it is because I feel like it'd be more interesting for this story. Like the first one, like the real Hancock movie, Jason Bateman's whole thing is basically like, hey, I could basically make money and help my career off Hancock. And it was very disingenuous. So instead, I want Hancock to legitimately like change as a person. He's always had these superpowers, but he hates his life. He doesn't want to be the hero. And then this kid kind of shows him how to be good after he saves him. So I like that dynamic better. And the kid, even like the fun scenes in the first Hancock of Jason Bateman, like filming, Hancock, like saving people and whatever, would work better with a kid being like, I'm going to put you on TikTok. Like, like this is like a viral video now. Like that tone is going to be more of what like their training scenario is. So they're going to become like a TikTok legend and stuff. But then like that's why Don Cheadle like recognizes them and is like, okay, I got to stop this dude before he realizes he can take down my, empire.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Joe?
And before you guys battle out, I don't really have a lot of questions or any questions really. I understand your movie, but I think the thing I would rather you guys focus on in your debates is more of your overall pitch, because I kind of have my mind settled on your cast, and I think both of you use the rule really well. So I would just say, as you're debating each other, more focus on your just like your story, I guess.
My thing with Bobby's is, first of all, like Matthew Vaughn used to be like one of the most interesting directors in Hollywood, but since he's basically like only focused on Kingsman stuff, like I feel like there's no excitement for at least me, and I feel like a lot of other people, to see Matthew Vaughn's stuff anymore. Like, so for one, like I would like him to see stuff other than Kingsman, but I'd rather have him do something more original of his own take, because he is very good at doing original style stuff. He's already done like Kingsman was an unknown comic book, and the first one is great, but like the new one coming out doesn't look good. The last one was bad. Like he needs to do something that's just kind of new and different, and maybe a different tone. And yours is embracing the tone of Kingsman, which he's just like, that's all he seems to be doing. It's like James Cameron with Avatar now. And my other thing is Nicolas Cage is good in Kick-Ass in that small role, because in a full movie of him doing that, it would be so over the top of him being like child and stuff. Like he's very good in that small role. But like if you're going to do a legitimate movie and have Nicolas Cage as the lead, like I get you have him be like this crazy homeless man, but him as like the whole lead of the movie would just be too over the top. And I feel like it wouldn't be taken as seriously as you might think it would. Like if you cast someone else in his place, you could make a legit movie. But if you put Nicolas Cage, it's going to be corny and cheesy the whole time. Like if you did a Kick-Ass movie with Nicolas Cage as the lead.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the Matthew Vaughn thing, I mean, I think just the fact that this isn't a Kingsman movie would be in the favor of that, because bringing his style, I love that style. The first Kingsman, the second Kingsman, he went too over the top. That's why I'm bringing it back. So he's going to have more of that first Kingsman, where it's telling an actual dramatic story, but ridiculous things happen around it or at certain moments, and the comedy just flows throughout. Because Nicolas Cage, he's a good actor. That's why he can do kind of a dramatic-ish performance, but then have his crazy freak out moments, and you believe it. Like even movies like National Treasure, he's a pretty charismatic lead, and then he like freaks out and slides down the staircase and all that, starting an argument, and then goes right back to being himself. Like he can lead a movie, he can do that. He's just trying to make up for a lot of debt that he has, so he's doing a bunch of these straight to DVD stuff. But he can still do it. It's not going to be corny and cheesy because he's not playing the same character as Kick-Ass. That was what that was meant to be.
I remember when I said like focus on like the pitch, and now you're arguing over like Nicolas Cage and Matthew Vaughn. And
that's true. All right. So as far as pitch goes for Johnny's, the story, like I get the story, and it's just, I don't know if I need to see a tearjerker superhero movie about this homeless guy. It sounds too depressing to me, especially with that ending, because you're starting with, if you're making a serious drama movie, you're already starting with a premise that's pretty heavy, and then you're ending the movie even heavier, and people are just going to walk out drained. And it's not a movie I'm going to want to see more than once. It's not a movie a lot of people will really want to go see after they hear like, hey, this is going to make you cry. Because, they're going in to try to see like a superhero movie or something like that. Seeing Nicolas Cage with superpowers, I think that's going to bring a lot of people in because it just looks fun. And they're going to get a fun movie like Kingsman, and they're going to enjoy it. And it's more light than yours. Just an easier movie to watch. And it's, as far as the plot, I also said I wasn't going to make that big thing be a twist. It's just kind of known, so that it's not this big change in the movie. As far as like, that's one of the main things I changed, because I actually really liked the premise of that. I just hate how they executed it in that first one. So she's just going to reveal it to him later on to like help him keep going crazy, because you get.
All right, I'll go quick and just say.
Can I ask a question now first?
Yeah.
Is yours like, I wasn't sure, and he brought it up because I was thinking, is it more of a comedy throughout and then you have a tearjerker ending, or is it like a drama with a tearjerker ending?
It's going to be a darker toned superhero movie. It's going to have fun moments. Everything between Ray and Hancock will be fun, like him putting him on TikTok and stuff. That's going to be the fun stuff, but everything with like Don Cheadle's going to play like a serious bad guy, and it's going to deal with themes like that. So my thing with Bobby is just real quick on his like pitch is, again, you still include the dumb stuff from Hancock with like a love interest and stuff like that. So I'm already not interested in that as far as your movie goes. You would have been better just to be like, okay, I'm just going to like do what I did and just be like, all right, I'm only going to focus on the first half. I'm not going to bring in any sort of origin, because what I hate most this is what I hate most about superhero movies, origin stories. I do not need one. This movie is just going to be, this dude just has superpowers. We don't know why, we don't know how, but he has superpowers and he's learning to live with it. He doesn't know why. The audience doesn't know why. It makes it more interesting. I don't need a reason behind that. It's like when a horror movie tries to go into the origin behind the horror and it's all just corny nonsense, and that's when they get bad. That's what your movie's going to do. And with mine, it'll have some fun moments, but I think Ryan Coogler's so good at doing, like, Fruitvale Station is a draining movie, but it's one of the greatest movies ever made. Like, I think it's such a fantastic movie. It's a really hard movie to watch, but I've watched it 3 times. Like, that's going to be the tone of, like, the ending, but he's going to include some of his fun elements from Creed and Black Panther into it. But he can do basically all that stuff. And I think too, while it's a sad ending when the kid dies, it's going to be uplifting when Hancock is like, okay, I'm never going to let another innocent person die. So instead of the origin being, this is how I got my powers, my origin is going to be, this is why he decides to be a superhero. Like, the kid teaches him, and then he is a hero at the end of the movie.
All right.
I have just one quick thing so just to rebut that a little bit. Basically, the reason I kept that in there, because Hancock has to reach kind of his low point in the movie, and that's kind of like when Charlize Theron comes in and like tries to do her thing. But when it's not really to tell the origin, it's to have Rashida Jones be able to come in there and kind of guide Nicolas Cage, saying, hey, I have these powers too, blah, 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 as more of a moment to kind of help him out instead of being this big twist. And then I kind of have the same arguments against your movie that I was saying before, so I don't want to repeat myself. So,
all right, Alex, what do you have to say about this?
So I agree with Joe in the fact that you guys both applied the rule pretty well. I think for me, Johnny, kind of tying in the whole social media world of today with TikTok and everything, that helped on my end. And I absolutely love Michael B. Jordan. So I think for me, I'd probably go with Johnny's pitch on here. Although the idea of it kind of being in that Kingsman setting really did, that intrigued me a lot. I'd like to see what that could be, but I'd have to go with Johnny if I had to choose one.
All right, yeah. Before I give my ruling, we do have a live comment. Angelica said, "Plenty of people go see movies knowing they'll cry. Sometimes it's about the journey."
Yeah, Marley and Me, baby.
All right, so basically,
sorry, I was just gonna say also, I had the thought of too with Johnny's is the movie Click. Like, I still like that movie, even though at the end of it there was kind of like I wasn't expecting to feel that.
Yeah, the scene with his dad, that shit's sad.
Yeah. So I'll say this: I think top to bottom, Bobby's cast is better. I like Nicolas Cage in that role. I like Paul Rudd in that role. I like Rashida Jones in that role. I think you both use the rule really well. I don't really have a problem with how either of you use the rule. I think both your movies are good, but I really like Johnny's story a lot better. I thought Bobby's story was kind of the same, just kind of taking out some of the bad elements, but they weren't like fully taken out. Like, we still had a lot of the stuff in that movie I don't care about. And I really like the idea of Johnny's being like, it almost reminded me of Spider-Man Homecoming in a way of, it's like not an origin of how he got his powers, but more of an origin of like him becoming actually Spider-Man. And so I'm going to go with Bobby on this. Or Johnny, my bad.
Oh, I'll take that after that explanation.
Bobby's like, all right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with
that. Yeah, I actually like that one a lot, Johnny. That was good. And I liked my Nicolas Cage.
I would love to see my movie. I wrote this and I was like, fuck, man. This would be
I'd like to see both movies. I'd just like to see Johnny's more.
All right.
So, Bobby, you're up.
My choice.
Yeah.
All right. I kind of want to save a couple of my other ones, so I'm going to go with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I'm going to I'll go first on that.
All right, hold up just a second. Got to move things around. Got to scroll up on my phone, which I wasn't really prepared for. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is somewhere on here. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is a 2005 movie that received a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wikipedia describes it as an American action comedy film directed by Doug Liman and written by Simon Kinberg. The film stars Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie as a bored upper-middle-class married couple surprised to learn that they are assassins belonging to competing agencies and that they have been assigned to kill each other. All right, that's the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Okay, so this movie was interesting to me because the plot is so simple and basic that you really can't do a lot to change it and still have it be Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So that's why my movie is going to be Mr. and Mrs. Chen, and this is going to be a foreign film. This is going to be directed by Wilson Yip, who did the Ip Man movies. And it's going to star Donnie Yen as Mr. Chen and Gigi Yanin as Mrs. Chen. Donnie Yen, obviously from the Ip Man movies, Rogue One. Gigi Yanin is she's a really good action star right now in China and Thailand, and she's just known as a badass martial artist. So this is going to be basically a foreign version of that movie in the tone of Ip Man. So it's going to be fun martial arts. You're going to see a lot of gadgets being used and a lot of different stuff. And this is being made for that one Chinese audience to get this fun action movie to them and Asian market. And then also when you bring it to the US and put it on Netflix, which gets a lot of those foreign movies, they're going to be like, oh, what's this? And it's a really easy movie for Americans to watch as well, because it's such a simple premise. It might introduce people to foreign films and get people to watch movies like Parasite and that, because it's like, oh, I can watch this movie, be entertained by the action, and still follow the story, and not, the reading the subtitles doesn't become as daunting. So I just think you get a really fun action movie out of this. And also, I just didn't want to make this The Raid again, because I feel like every time we make something a foreign film, we're like, all right, it's done by Gareth Evans and starred the cast of The Raid. So I still want it to be a fun action movie. Went with Donnie Yen. He's really charismatic. So is Gigi Yanin, because that's kind of the whole premise, is Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. That's the whole reason you go watch that movie. It's that and fun action. You get that same kind of tone, but with some better action choreography. And I think, Donnie Yen he's a star. So I'd love to see him in anything.
All right. Johnny?
All right. I agree with Bobby about not changing the plot too much. So I just kind of want to change the setting and the characters a little and their backstory. My movie will be called Mr. and Mrs. Smith because it's going to star Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. It's going to be directed by Peter Segal, who did Get Smart and My Spy. So more fun, like action movies that are like PG-13 style. So instead of them just being like an older bored married couple, it's actually going to be Will Smith playing Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith playing Jada Pinkett Smith, but they are secret agents that they don't know about. So it's going to be the same, similar plot wise. It's going to play out the same. So they are, obviously a married couple with deep secrets. They're both secret agents. They find out each other's secrets because they are hired to assassinate each other, and they discover they're the other's target and decide to work together to bring down the agencies that employ them. And my rule for this movie is that they are going to perform the theme song for the movie, which is going to be called We the Smiths. And it's going to have Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and Willow Smith and the son, whatever the hell his name is, Jaden Smith. So it'll be like a family movie. It's going to be them as like the actual Will Smith family. It'll be kind of a glimpse into their life. They're obviously in current news now with some of their,
entanglements
and things. So we're going to go and kind of embrace that, but it's going to be more of like, oh, we do have some weird, like fun secrets. And I just feel like this is more of a fun movie for modern audiences. It's going to be a play on reality TV. Like it's it's about like a real couple, but then it's going to have the fun plot and fun style of Mr. and Mrs. Smith and a fun theme song from the Smith family.
All right. Alex, you got any questions?
No, honestly, I think I understand both pitches pretty well, and I actually like them both. So
yeah.
I'm just looking forward to hearing them to debate it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I understand both your pitches. I'm pretty equal on your cast. I'm pretty equal on your story, and I'm pretty equal on your use of your rules. So I guess we'll just have to see who wins the debate here.
My one question on yours, Bobby, is what's your movie rated? What's the action look like?
It's going to be PG-13 to be a little bit more accessible, but because you can't just make everything an R-rated action movie, I feel like that's kind of the go-to. This is going to be more of a family-oriented action movie. I know it's still going to be crazy fun martial arts and gadgets, but you just don't have blood and all that because they're not actually killing each other. So what are you really going to do in this movie to make it rated R other than to have them bleeding the whole time? So there's really no reason to do it. So that's kind of my thing. For yours, I just find it's almost the same. It's pretty much the same movie. I mean, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, like Will Smith and Brad Pitt are
so is yours. Yours is the same movie, but foreign.
Yeah,
So.
but it's like you're doing it, as for American audiences. I don't know if they'll care as much. I mean, they like Will Smith, and also
definitely
for the action and that, like Will Smith does action, but a lot of the times he just kind of shoots and runs and chases. Like he doesn't really. I don't know if he's gonna be as entertaining, unless it's gonna be more of a battle with just gadgets. Doing the actual fighting, I don't. It's not quite as believable.
Have you seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Well, that's the whole thing.
That's what it is.
I know, and that's why it's not as entertaining to look back on it, because action has evolved since then. You're gonna have to cut around both Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith in order to film it. So they're either gonna have a lot of stunt doubles where you don't see their faces, or CGI faces onto them, or you're gonna have to cut around it so much that it looks like Taken 3 when they're actually fighting. So I do like the premise of like, you're playing into the drama nowadays, but you're making it so meta in that same sense. And, I don't think the action is going to be quite as fun in your movie. And that's pretty much the entire movie.
Okay. Well, here's my thing. First of all, Will Smith just did, I know they aren't movies that I'm interested in, but he just did Gemini Man, where it's plenty of action and they don't need to cut around, and Bad Boys 3 or whatever, or 4, or however many of those movies there are. And that's a lot of fun action, and he does that just fine. They don't need to cut away from him. So it's going to be the same type of action as that, same type as the original. And with yours, honestly, yours would be more interesting if it was an R-rated action movie, because you know what doesn't ever carry over to America are PG-13 or family foreign movies. Parasite is the most popular foreign movie in years, and then The Raid and The Raid 2 and Ip Man and all those movies. Like Donnie Yen just did a horrible, unwatchable parody of Bruce Lee movies called Enter the Fat Dragon, and it is straight up terrible. And it'd be better if Donnie Yen, if you were just all right, well, I'm going to go a different way with Mr. and Mrs. Smith and make it more of a fun action movie that is R-rated, because all good foreign action movies are rated R. There are not good ones that aren't, because they basically go two ways. But all the ones that carry over, Infernal Affairs, everything that I've seen, Joe and I did our list of top 20 foreign films. Every single action movie from any foreign country is better when it's rated R. So if you're going to make it for families, the only way it's actually going to be, popular in the US is if it's like mine and has Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. People will go see a movie with Will Smith, that they just will. And it's a fun action movie. It's a return to form for him. He doesn't need to be making Concussion and all these movies where he's trying to act. It's a family movie about a family in America, and it's more interesting. And you add more of a dynamic with the kids into mine than the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and just modernize it. Yours doesn't add anything to it. It just is a straight remake and not more interesting action.
So going back to your point on Will Smith and doing action movies, that's kind of my whole point in the type of action that he does. Even in Bad Boys and in Gemini Man, it's not a lot of hand-to-hand combat that is fun to watch.
And it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be.
But that's what I'm saying. If that's what you're making the action in your movie, that's fine. But when there's only two people involved the entire time, and you're just making it more, shoot and duck and talk, and maybe run and tackle, which is a lot of what Will Smith does, I don't find that as entertaining. And for the PG-13 to R, a lot of movies, certain movies you make and you don't really know what rating it's going to get. You're making a action movie and you're making it to the best action that you can make it. It's just that because they're not going to kill each other and it's only two people fighting, it's going to get PG-13 rating.
But is your movie just those two fighting the whole time, or is it going to have the warehouse where they're getting stormed with secret agents? Mine is going to be the plot of the original one. They fight at the beginning. They have this little run-in, and it's a fun little interaction. And then they realize, hey, we were assigned to kill each other. And then they go after the agencies. So there are plenty of villains and bad guys chasing after them. It doesn't need to have any hand-to-hand combat. They're spies, so I want to have more gadgets and stuff, because that's what the modern day James Bond movies are lacking, is more gadgets. So throw in gadgets and gunfights into this movie. It doesn't need any hand-to-hand combat. And if it does have hand-to-hand combat, make it rated R because the worst hand-to-hand combat in movies is PG-13 because you have to cut away from people getting their noses broken and their eyes poked out and like John Wick style hand-to-hand combat. That John Wick would be garbage if it was PG-13.
All right. Do either of you have anything you feel like you need to say to defend your thing or attack the other person? Because I feel like I'm kind of where I think I know where.
Yeah, I don't think I need to add anything.
I doubt it's going to change yours too much, but I just wanted to say, like, yeah, it's still going to have that action at the end. But honestly, as you know, you don't need to have that action be rated R to have it cross over. That's all I would.
All right, Alex, do you got anything you'd like to?
No, I mean, if you're ready for my
yeah, if you're.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny makes a good point on how it should be an R movie for the foreign film, but I still love the idea of it being a kind of more martial arts hand-to-hand combat. And I think if I really think about it, I think it could still be done well. And also, I don't think I could see myself wanting to go see the Smiths version just because I don't really like things that are overly meta generally. So I would give this one to Bobby.
All right. Yeah, this is interesting because I feel like both, like I said before, both your casts are basically the same. I think you both used your rule pretty decently. I mean, obviously, just because of the rule, Bobby's was more throughout his movie than just like, oh, they did the theme song, which basically is just a thing that forces you to cast people that can sing or rap or whatever. I differ with Alex because I agree that I feel like for a movie to cross over, action movie to cross over, it should be foreign wise, it should be R-rated. I mean, that's partially why people in America care about foreign action movies is because they're a lot closer to like a John Wick, and I don't really remember a foreign action movie that's PG-13. And then he was trying to take Johnny down with like the fight scenes don't be that great, but the fight scenes in the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith weren't like amazing fight scenes that everyone still remembers. It's more about the chemistry between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, and obviously Will and Jada are going to have good chemistry. And I just think overall the movie that interested me more, because I also disagree with Alex, I do like the meta-ness of it. I'm going to go with Johnny's Mr. and Mrs. Will and Jada Smith.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that was what I was going to say, and I forgot, so I'm glad Joe mentioned it. Was like, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is not about the action, it's about the chemistry between the two people, and that definitely won't carry over in subtitles if it's, about the chemistry of the cast. So, right. Glad Joe agreed.
Bobby, what are we doing?
All right, so I gotta catch up here a little bit. So,
excuse me. Yeah, it's currently 2-1 for those listening.
Let's go with Rat Race, and I'll have Johnny go first.
All right, Rat Race.
Okay, so
I got to read the.
Joe will read what this movie is about. It's basically a shitty remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah, Rat Race. It's a 2001 movie, 44% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I haven't seen it in a while, but that seems fair, maybe slightly high. According to Wikipedia, Rat Race is an American comedy film directed by Jerry Zucker. It's inspired by Stanley Kramer's 1963 classic, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. The film features a large ensemble cast of comedic actors and a story about 6 teams of people who are given the task of racing 563 miles from a Las Vegas casino to Silver City, New Mexico train station, where a storage locker contains a duffel bag filled with $2 million. Each team is given a key to the locker, and the first person to reach the locker gets the money. So, there you go. Johnny, what's your pitch for Rat Race?
All right, so my pitch deeply involves my rule because we're making Rat Race a really, really high-budget movie because we're going $300 million for Rat Race, and we're going to set it in space to make it expensive. So my movie is going to be the most famous space bandits in the galaxy are entered into a tournament to race to the grand prize, 600 million credits. They are all given a key and coordinates to the winning location. They travel through space and to many different planets and get there first while diverting the rest. Through many hijinks, special effects, different planets, lots of cameos. That's what this movie is going to be. It's going to be a fun space race movie. Everyone's, tricking each other to try to get to places, hacking each other's stuff. So I didn't just like recast every character. I'm just going to list my cast of actors that are going to be in my movie. It's going to star Chris Evans, Captain America himself, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Samuel L. Jackson. He's going to be the host of the event that sends them all the keys. George Clooney, Scarlett Johansson, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck. They're going to be a duo, Space Bandit. Mark Wahlberg, Ryan Reynolds, and then Jennifer Lawrence, Jennifer Aniston, Chris Pratt, and my director is Robert Zemeckis. So it's just going to be a bunch of highly paid superstars in a space movie that is racing. It's basically a big race to a treasure. So that's my rat race movie.
All right, Bobby.
All right. Well, I can't get too far away before you learn my rule, but my movie is going to be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who did the 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, Lego Movie, all that stuff. So pretty funny movies. And this is going to be DC's Rat Race. So this is going to be an alternate timeline as DC does, and they're just putting out weird movies like they did with Joker, things that don't necessarily connect. And this is going to be a weird alternate universe. So this is going to include Tom Hardy's Bane, which is my rule. So you must include Tom Hardy's Bane into the movie. Jim Carrey's Riddler, Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, Jared Leto's Joker and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn as a pair, Danny DeVito's Penguin, Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, which all of those set in a comedy with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I think would be perfect because you have some of them that could play it up seriously and get kind of taken aback by the craziness. You have Tom Hardy's crazy voice, and you have Jared Leto, who was a bad Joker in a serious movie, but when you put him in a comedy and you can make fun of him for all that stuff in an alternate timeline, I think that fits a little better. So here's my pitch. On this alternate Earth, Dr. Hugo Strange has organized a race between Batman's rogues gallery. He claims to have found the identity of Batman and is offering up his identity as well as $10 million to the victor. The villains are unaware of Strange's intentions, but the offer is too good to pass up. During the race, there are many hijinks with the villains' various cars. You can just imagine all the different stuff that they could have on each of them, like Joker and Harley Quinn throwing out different, teeth and boxing gloves and all that stuff. Riddler throwing out all his just craziness involved. None of them play fair. As I said, Bane serious with his voice and the context of what he's saying provides comedy. As the villains crash, you see a shadowed figure taking them away. Joker abandons Harley after an encounter with Mr. Freeze and thinks he has won. After he arrives at the finish line, he sees all the villains knocked out and tied up. Suddenly, something hits him in the face and knocks him down. As it falls to the ground, it's revealed to be a battering as Michael Keaton's Batman steps out from the shadows. He shoots his grappling hook around Joker's feet as he comedically falls, and the movie ends with the disgruntled villains in the back of a police van on the way to Arkham. So this is an older Batman who found a way to get all of his rogues gallery in that universe into one spot, or a lot of them, to be able to trap them and take them there. And it's just a fun, in the tone of Lord and Miller, comedy movie with all these ridiculous, crazy villains that DC can get away with as they make all these different types of alternate universe movies.
All right. Alex, you got any questions for him?
Yeah, Bobby, just to clarify, you did say that this would kind of be like the Joker, where it's just kind of not really tied into anything else, right?
Yeah, you'll get the premise just by seeing it's all these people from all these different movies, so I guess it doesn't really connect. So, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. Is that all you had?
Yeah.
All right, so one of the ending of Rat Race is basically they get the money and then they...
Smash Mouth plays.
Yeah, well, they end up at this concert, and the people at the concert think that they're donating the $2 million, and they don't get it. So Bobby answered my question of how does your movie end? Johnny, how does your movie end? Does a team win? What happens? Why?
They're basically gonna get to a planet. The coordinates are gonna take them to a planet that's very much concerts and stuff going on, so it'll be a similar setting, but aliens doing so, and it'll be a similar thing of they think they're all giving the money away, and everyone at that point learned to kind of be friends and stuff. So the movie will be at the end, none of them actually get the money, and they're all friends at the end. That'll be how mine ends.
All right, so yeah, I understand both your movies. I understand why Johnny's would cost. I mean, for what it's worth, $300 million. Like I could see it ended up costing, and I'm okay with like Bobby's use of Bane. So there's really no point in debating the rule between you two. So yeah, if you just want to go after each other's cast and pitches.
Yeah. I'll start. My thing with Bobby's is I liked your premise. I think it's a very fun movie. I'd love to see that as like a DC animated, like throw it on, their channel type of thing. I think the worst part of yours is that you cast all of the other actors. If you just had Tom Hardy's Bane, like, okay, that's the rule. I'm not going to fight it. But then you put like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, and instead, like, you should have just recast all of the villains, and I would have been totally down for it because I would have been like, oh shit, that actually sounds like a movie I'd want to see. But no one wants to see that. And the problem with your movie too is like the Joker is a one-off, spin-off, doesn't connect to the rest of the universe. You actually hindered that because you cast people from other movies. If you were just like, oh, well, I cast a whole new cast of people as Batman villains. Okay, it doesn't connect to anything else. Yeah, we had to use Tom Hardy as Bane, so okay, I'm not going to fight you on it. But like having Jim Carrey as the Riddler, having Arnold Schwarzenegger as, Mr. Freeze, and putting all these people, and that actually does the opposite of what you're saying, and it connects all of those movies and says, oh, those are all actually now in the same universe because these characters exist in the same world. So I feel like you actually would have been, I would have like bowed down and given you the pitch if you didn't do that. But since you did that, I feel like it hinders yours so much that it kills your point of DC, first of all, would obviously never make your movie. I get it's a fantastical world and we pitch these things, but you can't do your movie and cast all of the people from every DC movie and Batman universe because there can't be a tying thread in between all of them. Like there can't be, and you're doing that, and it's not going to make people think, oh, there's, these movies obviously don't connect because they're all in it. It'll just make people think, oh, so wait, Batman Forever is like also in Batman Begins universe. Like it's just going to confuse people. It's not. No. It's going to do the opposite of what you intended.
No, I think actually your argument, what you're saying is kind of the opposite. So by casting all these different people, you're kind of, that makes you realize that it's not connected. Because for one thing, none of these characters, none of them are in the same universe. And also, if you had Tom Hardy's Bane and that's it, and then recast all the rest, everyone will then think it's connected to the Dark Knight trilogy, and that's not a tone that fits with Rat Race. And if you want to make a fun DC Lord and Miller movie, you're going to have all the crazy, wild villains. No one thinks that Danny DeVito's Penguin is still around in these movies that they're making now. That their universes hardly connect in the first place. So you're really not confusing everyone. You're not giving the audience enough credit. Everyone will know what this is. And even
have you seen the people in this country? Have you heard people in the audience that's going to see these?
I'm just going to say, I understand Bobby's point. I don't know if it would confuse people or not, but you guys can go back and forth on this forever. I don't know how much it's going to change my mind.
Yeah,
so if you have points about other topics.
I don't understand. Like that one doesn't quite work as an argument for me. With yours, Johnny, it's just because you're making a $300 million movie, it's a movie that needs to make like 800 million or plus to make a profit. And I don't know if your premise would do that.
My cast would. If you just said, hey, here's a space movie and here's the cast, everyone's going to go see this movie. First of all, we were hindered by the rule. So like, I'm not worried about how much your movie makes, and I'm not worried how much my $300 million movie makes. Like we had to do a movie that was $300 million, which is an insane budget to have to do. So I'm not gonna hurt you on your point when you do that movie.
I'm just gonna say $300 million is the budget of Avengers Endgame. None of these movies on our list, if they cost $300 million to make, are going to make their money back. So again, I would just move on from this point.
Mine will be known as the largest bomb in Hollywood history, and that will make people see it. It will be a cult classic because it was a $300 million budget and it made like $8 million. It's going to be awesome. How much money? Like it will put studios out of business, my movie. And I think that's good. But anyway, like, I don't know. I'd be more interested, like, Rat Race, like, throw in, again, with yours. I would love to see a DC movie where there's a bunch of new people playing villains, because I think the worst thing the best thing in DC and Batman are the villains. So, like, give me new villains every time you do it. So I don't need to see anyone reprise their roles, especially Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was terrible as Mr. Freeze. Like, get that out of there.
We're going back to this
And
point. Anyone have anything?
I know we're getting back to this point,
Right.
but my point is,
Do you have any?
As an audience, like, I would go see my movie because it just has more fun people in it, and it'd just be a more fun movie. They work better together. There's more of, like, the Rat Race, like, differed from It's a Mad, 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 Mad World because it was more of like a comedy that all of them became friends at the end, and they don't get the money and they give it to charity. Like, I want mine to be more of, it's a space movie and they're all trying to divert each other. They get to go to different planets, get to new unique locations. I feel like that is what your movie is lacking. It's not going to have, like, everyone ending up in cool, unique places and be funny that way. Like, yours is just going to be more of, we're going to race to see his identity. Mine is going to be, you have all of space to work with. So everyone can end up on a different planet. You can have more hijinks. You can have more fun scenarios that way. You can have more fun sets and set pieces. Yours is just like, well, they're all racing to one spot, and then it has to be tied to DC. So it's not going to be like that fun. And Lord and Miller got fired from the only, like, big franchise have had to do.
That's not a good argument, because they were trying to make an interesting movie. But so
don't tell that to Joe. He loves Han Solo.
Yeah. Well, no, that movie is okay, but they were trying to just make something different, and what they were trying to do is something they would be allowed to do with this, where it's a one-off that doesn't connect. So basically, but as far as the plot and movies and all that stuff, to get back to a different argument, I just find your movie and premise, when I think about it, a little bit more forgettable. Like, people might like it and like the actors and go see it, but I don't know if that's gonna hold up as something people rewatch. Whereas mine is so crazy.
Do not care what people want to see. No one's gonna see yours. No one's gonna see mine. They're fake. I'm pitching a movie I want to see.
I know, and I would love to see this. And you know what? I would love to see this movie live action or animated. And
make yours a Lego movie, you win, but it's not. You made it live action, it's bad.
All right, Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say? Because I've heard enough out of these two.
Yeah. So I think on the point of, there's a lot of people in Bobby's movie that I don't ever want to see play those characters again.
Yep.
Including Arnold. I hated
Jared Leto. Jared Leto takes himself so seriously, he's never going to do a comedy.
And I'd even really say Harley Quinn's Joker, but I mean, it's not, Harley Quinn with Margot Robbie. Not that she does a bad job. I just think that that's just going to kind of, I just associate so much bad with the late everything that's come out DC in the last however many years. So despite the fact that part of Johnny's pitch was that he's going to cause people to lose their jobs with this movie, I actually do think it'd be something that I'd want to go see. It would just be a fun movie, I feel like, but I would go with Johnny on this one.
Yeah, I was torn for a while. I was almost leaning Bobby, because I'll say both of your rule. I think Johnny's, just because the nature of the role he used is more, where I feel like Bobby's Tom Hardy's Bane is just like in it, and he's not like a lead, but he didn't have to be a lead. He just had to be in the movie enough. And
points off because Bobby didn't even do a Bane impression.
he's in the movie enough for me. And your cast, honestly, like, Johnny wins the cast hands down, because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's Bane and Jared Leto, and so Jared Leto's Joker, and just a bunch of things I was like
no
about.
One wants to see.
And but I feel like pitch overall, I feel like it's pretty close, because part of me does want to see. I would like to see basically DC's Rat Race. But I don't want to see DC's Rat Race with that cast as those characters. I'd rather see a fun space adventure Rat Race going from different planets and seeing different locations. Bobby had the win until Johnny basically brought up that they're going to go to different planets and like weird locations. And so with that, it made me a lot more interested in his movie that I thought could be more memorable when I originally kind of pictured it as more forgettable space adventure. So Johnny takes a bit of a 3-1 lead here.
All right, Bobby, let's see what you
Yeah.
got.
Well,
I'm on fire.
I'm in trouble because that was one of my favorite pitches. So, let's
Man,
see.
if you had cast other new people as the roles, like I
Honestly,
would not
if you
have
had
had
just said
one
your movie
fight.
was animated and it's still Tom Hardy
Yep.
as the voice of Bane,
Or-
you would have had the win.
Yeah, if you did yours as a Lego movie with like that same cast, I would have been like, "Fuck, what do I even say against?"
I would still love to see mine with those people because I think Lord and Miller would make it hilarious. But that argument is over. This is a tough one to choose here, but let's go with. Oh, this is going to be interesting because I could easily go down real big, but let's do Jurassic Park.
All right.
Okay, I was gonna tell you the movie to do, and I was like, no, I shouldn't do that because I was about to be like, pick this because you'll probably beat me, but I was like, nah,
Probably not.
And we'll see. This one again is a could go either way type of movie. Who's going first, Bobby?
Let's see. You went first last time, Johnny. I'll go first.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so Jurassic Park came out in 1993, exactly 1 week after I was born. It was 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wikipedia describes it as an American science fiction adventure film directed by Steven Spielberg. The film is set on the fictional island of Isla Nublar, located off Central America's Pacific coast near Costa Rica. There, wealthy businessman John Hammond and a team of genetic scientists have created a wildlife park of de-extinct dinosaurs. When industrial sabotage leads to a catastrophic shutdown of the park's power facilities and security precautions, a small group of visitors and Hammond's grandchildren struggle to survive and escape the perilous island. Oh, also one thing I forgot to say, how did none of you have Dominic Toretto in Rat Race and just set it in the world of Fast and the Furious?
Because I thought that was
too
obvious.
easy, baby.
Way too easy, and that's because you'll see where I put.
God. Oh God. Okay,
What?
Bobby, you go.
All right, so my movie. So for one thing, Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's why it was on the list this week. It's in the top 5. So every time I was trying to make a serious remake to this movie, it just sounded so plain and thought it would come across too generic, kind of like the Jurassic World movies now. So I went a complete opposite direction. I'll start with my cast on this, actually. My Dr. Alan Grant is going to be Jason Clarke from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Everest, Lawless, Mudbound. I think he fits that role. My Ellie Sadler is going to be Isla Fisher from Wedding Crashers and Now You See Me. My Ian Malcolm is going to be Matthew Lillard from Scream, Scooby-Doo, and Without a Paddle. I think if you look at him now, I think he fits that role kind of perfectly. My John Hammond.
Trump now. Have you seen him?
With glasses, not quite. I think he looks.
No,
more...
someone tweeted that picture to him and he retweeted it and is like, "This is the meanest thing anyone's ever said."
That's funny. My John Hammond is going to be played by Michael Douglas. Seth Rogen is going to be my Dennis Nedry, and the lawyer Donald, who you just want to see eaten because he's so annoying, is going to be played by Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory because you just want him to get eaten by a dinosaur.
You're goddamn right.
But honestly, most of that cast does not matter because my director is James Wan, who has done horror movies before and also has done Furious 7 and Johnny.
No, we did not just match rules on Jurassic Park.
Yes, that's probably because also we're movie fights fans. So yeah, James Wan, I think, fits perfectly. And as you know, this is going to follow the cast and crew of Fast and Furious who were hired to help open and run Jurassic Park by John Hammond. So the tour drivers in this, instead of just having these automated Jeeps, you're actually going to have Dominic Toretto, and pick one of the other ones. Could be Tyrese, could be Jason Statham are going to be in the other one. Whoever. You're going to have Ludacris up with the computers with Nedry. And this is just going to be a dinosaurs chasing cars crashing into dinosaurs movie with Dominic Toretto jumping onto a helicopter to land on a T-Rex's back, like crazy Fast and Furious stuff. You're going to have, so instead of like the truck just going over the edge and into the tree, Dominic Toretto is going to ramp it into the tree and use his shifting and gas and brakes to somehow just like safely guide down the tree because he's Dominic Toretto. You just have this crazy, they're protecting the families. You still get a little bit of elements of horror, like James Wan likes to throw in there, but mostly it's like action, not really horror. Because you get fun dinosaurs. You get Dominic Toretto punching a velociraptor in the face, and you get the crew of Fast and the Furious saving the day, and then having John Hammond arrested at the end for opening this extremely unsafe park, and so The Rock can come in and arrest him at the end of the movie. So you just get this really fun, and Johnny's obviously pitching the same rule, but it's just over the top.
Totally different movie though.
James Wan is perfect. It's basically what if the original Jurassic Park happened, but the Fast and Furious crew was there. So it's the same people coming in, but it's like, how would they react? And they just, they take it over and it becomes this fun, crazy action movie.
All right. That was fucking awesome. So Johnny, you got to fucking match that.
All right. Well, I will do more than match that, Bobby, because you've messed up some points on your Fast and Furious movie. I'm just going to go right into my pitch. A rich scientist has created a theme park where dinosaurs have been recreated using DNA frozen in tree sap. Little does he know the park will fail and the dinosaurs will be set loose. The smartest of which are velociraptors, who have not only learned how to open doors, but also how to drive cars. The velociraptors become the most dangerous driving gang in the world. And I have not read this since last night. They become the most dangerous driving gang in the world, and only one team can stop them. Dominic Toretto and his family of racers / secret agents / thieves / hackers / superheroes. The Fast and Furious gang must chase down the gang of raptors and prevent them from taking over the world. In the climax of the film, Dominic Toretto is reunited with his... In the climax of the film, Dominic Toretto is reunited with his father, the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Who is it?
And Dominic Toretto is reunited with his father, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and rides him into battle to kill the raptors. My director is also James Wan.
You guys... Oh my god, I wish I knew the name of this movie. There's a movie that stars Paul Walker where his brain is put into an animatronic
Dead
T-Rex.
Man Walking?
No, not that.
No,
but it's
for his life.
But if you had brought Paul Walker back as like his brain got put in a T-Rex, whoever did that.
He's the Velociraptor.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex, you got any questions? Because I might skip the debate here.
Please do.
Do not skip this debate.
No, I just want to clarify on Bobby's. Is yours that they like happen to be at the park when it happens, or are they brought in too?
No, so basically they were hired because the whole thing with Fast and Furious and their crew, for some reason they are hired to do like any job in the world. So John Hammond hires them to be the security and the drivers and the tech for the opening of the park to try to get it started to keep these people safe. That he's trying to like show how safe his park is. So that's why they're there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Lame.
All right.
Boring.
Our time is currently 1 minute and 13 minutes. You have until 1 hour and 13 minutes. 1 hour and 13 minutes. You have until 1 hour and 15 minutes, Johnny, to tell me why your movie isn't completely just fucking batshit beyond all belief. Otherwise, Bobby's getting the point here.
Okay, because the Fast and Furious movies are batshit beyond belief. If you try to make them serious, you're bad. You're bad at making movies. And same, like, okay, the people say the only thing that Fast and Furious can do with their next movies is put it in space. No, you can make dinosaurs drive cars. You can do anything in this universe, and I want to see it get real weird. Dominic Toretto. Okay, Dominic Toretto sounds like a dinosaur. He looks like a dinosaur. His father is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It only makes sense, right?
For the people who actually care about that franchise,
no one smart cares about this franchise. I'm making a fantastic. Okay, I'm making Fast and Furious movie. I'm making one that's actually good, that's weird. fucking velociraptors know how to open doors. Why can't they open? Why can't they drive cars? You know,
'Cause
yours doesn't even use.
face.
Yours is so boring. Yours is just like, what if we ruined Jurassic Park? Mine is, what if we made Fast and Furious?
All right,
good?
Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say here?
Yeah. First of all, Johnny should stop drinking before the shows.
I haven't.
He is.
I didn't.
Because he is.
This is
passionate
this
about
is
right
the
now.
point. This is the point.
Yeah.
I am passionate about this.
Yeah, I saw.
I couldn't get through the Tyrannosaurus Rex thing as the dad. That was a lot for me.
I got to go here. I like Bobby's pitch was better.
Lame.
I like the fact that he pulled out how every time there's always that crazy scene where like, oh, they're gonna die here, and then somehow they drive a car in an insane way and live,
or ride a dinosaur.
Yeah, or ride it down a tree. But I think Bobby had a little bit more would actually want to go see. Although Johnny's does sound like a car crash.
A better movie.
A literal car crash.
Yeah.
That's what those movies are.
So, unsurprising to nobody, I'm going to go with Bobby here because the dumbest part about his movie is that they get hired to work for Jurassic Park to make like $15 an hour when they've stolen millions of dollars. But he also doesn't have he doesn't have velociraptors driving cars. So, yeah.
I don't get what's dumb about that. The Rock
weirdly, that was actually the
moves.
part I liked about Johnny's.
Yeah, The Rock literally takes his hand and moves a torpedo in the
He
ice.
kicks
Like
it. He
these
doesn't.
movies,
You hit it with his hand.
Okay, sorry. These movies are the most unbelievable things in the world, and they need to just
Johnny,
be like, "Ooh,
your
we need
pitch
to
was
Pick
do
your next
that."
movie.
My
Your
pitch is good.
Your pitch was counting that
Oh,
I
my
didn't
God.
have the same rule.
Yep, 100%. I was very disappointed when I found out you had the same rule. I was like, what do I fight about this? Except yours sounds so bad. Other than that, what do I fight? Okay, we're gonna go Catwoman next.
All right.
And I don't know. Let's see. Who went first last time, Bobby? I went second, so I'll go first here.
Catwoman.
All right.
Catwoman received a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is about 10% too high. Wikipedia describes it as a 2004 American superhero film directed by Pitoff. That's all you need to know. The director's name is
One name
Pitoff.
Russian man.
Yeah, loosely based on the very, very loosely based on the DC Comics character of the same name. It stars Halle Berry in the title role with Benjamin Bratt, Lambert Wilson, Francis Conroy, Alex Borstein, and Sharon Stone. The film centers on Patience Phillip, a make designer who discovers a conspiracy within the cosmetics company she works for that involves a dangerous product which could cause widespread health problems. After being discovered and murdered by the conspirators, she is revived by Egyptian cats that grant her superhuman cat-like abilities, allowing her to become the crime-fighting anti-heroine Catwoman, while also romancing a detective who pursues her. Because anything about that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's very bad. It's
terrible.
It's one of the worst movies ever made. Halle Berry gave an amazing acceptance speech at the Razzies when she won for Worst Actress, like a year after or the same year for winning Best Actress for Monsters Ball. She did this movie. So I threw out that entire plot because that shit's bad. Yeah. So we're going to do my version of Catwoman, which is one that I would love to see. So I will start with a couple of cast members, do my pitch, and then go into the rest of my cast. So first of all, Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, is going to be played by Sonoya Mizuno from Debs and from Ex Machina. And she is maybe my favorite actress working today. I say that every time I bring her up. My Holly Robinson, which is Catwoman's like kind of sidekick in a lot of the comics, is going to be played by Maya Ketch. She's from Are You Afraid of the Dark or Always Be My Maybe. If you don't know who she is, she's a little kid and she's really, really good in a couple things that she's been. She basically played the 12-year-old version of the lead in Always Be My Maybe. And my director is Sam Raimi, because my rule is I'm going to make this a horror movie. So here's my pitch. Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, comes back to her apartment building after a night of committing robberies. Selena goes to check on her young orphan sister, Holly Robinson, but she is gone. Instead, on her empty bed is a bloodstained envelope. Inside is a picture of Holly tied up in a dark room and a note with an address. Selena rushes to the address, which is an old abandoned mansion. Once Selena is inside, bars close and all the windows and doors. She's locked inside. She sees Holly in a room tied to a chair. She goes to take the tape off of her mouth. Did Joe leave?
We lost our judge. Like I could see his internet kind of fading, like he was going in and out. So he may have lost connection.
Okay, I'll wait. Now I'll see where he's at then.
Yeah. All I know is your pitch is going to be hard for me to fight, but yeah, I'll do my best.
This is the one I'm most passionate about. So get ready to get defeated. And Alex's cat is in the background. So
I still really like my pitch, so we'll see, but we'll go from there.
Joe, where are you at? Where did you hear last?
All right. Basically, she found the bloodstained envelope and she went to a warehouse. That's the last thing I saw.
Okay, so she finds a bloodstained envelope. It has a note with an address. She rushes to the address. It's an old abandoned mansion. She goes inside. All the windows and doors are sealed in by bars, so she's locked inside. She sees Holly in a room tied to a chair. She goes to take the tape off of her mouth. Holly yells, "Selena, it's a trap." It is revealed the anonymous messenger was Jonathan Crane, a.k.a. Scarecrow. Gas fills the room and causes Catwoman to see horrible scenes and is trapped in Scarecrow's world of horror. She must find a way to survive and protect Holly while figuring out what is real and what is all in her head. She will have encounters with Batman villains trying to kill her throughout the movie, including Solomon Grundy in a graveyard, which will be like an old school zombie movie. Joker, which is going to be like the New 52 style, where his face is ripped off then stapled on. He's going to be chasing her with a knife, trying to cut off her face, which is going to be an homage to like slasher movies. Killer, she's going to go into like the basement, and then it's going to be covered in water, and Killer Croc is going to be chasing her. So it's going to be like Jaws or Crawl, like monster movies, trying to get them. And then like Poison Ivy, Plant Attacks, which is going to be an homage to like Evil Dead when the tree attacks that woman, and Poltergeist with the evil tree. And then the ventriloquist army of puppets trying to kill her, like Dead Silence with scary puppets that are in a lot of classic horror movies as well. So to go back to my cast, because I gave you my Selena Kyle and Holly Robinson, my Scarecrow is going to be played by Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the new It movies. He is going to look like if anyone has played the new, what is it? The DC fighting games that are made by like the Mortal Kombat people. He's going to look a lot like that. That's going to be like his style. The ventriloquist is going to be played by Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. My Poison Ivy is going to be Samara Weaving, who is the lead in Ready or Not, and she's a really good actress. My Joker is going to be played by Jamie Bell, who was in Snowpiercer, King Kong. I think he was the Thing in the shitty Fantastic Four movie, but he's a good actor, and I want to see. And he is like the good look for my New 52 style Joker. And again, my director is Sam Raimi.
All right.
So that's my movie. It's a horror movie.
All right.
Okay.
Bobby?
All right. So my movie is going to be directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who he's done like the Mission Impossible, the last two really good ones, Fallout and Rogue Nation. And my movie is going to star Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. My villain, who I'll tell you later, is going to be played by Javier Bardem. It is also going to include, this is going to be the cast. It's going to be in the world of this new Batman movie that's being made by Matt Reeves. So that's why it's that cast. Like Robert Pattinson is going to be Batman, Paul Dano's Riddler, Colin Farrell Penguin. They're going to be a lot of different villains in this movie. This is going to throw out that entire plot, like Johnny did, of that original Catwoman. And this is going to adapt the graphic novel The Cat File, which is where Catwoman is essentially captured by this organization and is made to pull off these impossible tasks. because my rule is going to be that this is going to be a $300 million movie, because this is going to be a worldwide spanning, space spanning movie where she has to pull off these heists, just like that comic book. And I'll just read you kind of the premise of that graphic novel if you don't know. In this tale of international political intrigue and duplicity, Catwoman is captured by a secret government organization and blackmailed into committing an impossible robbery, and many of them actually. Caught in a no-win situation, the infamous feline burglar must steal an ancient relic from a small European country. This is kind of the last one, or suffer the detonation of a cyanide capsule that has been implanted in her arm. Realizing success will lead to her termination by her puppet masters, Catwoman uses her ingenuity to turn the tables against the government agency. So this is going to be a international spy burglar kind of movie with Catwoman. And the $300 million comes from Christopher McQuarrie loves to shoot things on location. So he's going to be traveling all across the world to shoot this.
Space.
Yeah, and space as well, because not actually going through space, not like Tom Cruise, but shooting anything that involves space and going to different areas, like into a space station, will cost a lot of money, because that's where one of these takes place in that book. There's going to be a lot of her, like she has to scale down the buildings, and a lot of stunts that cost a lot of money. So that's basically what brings that movie up to $300 million. For example, some of the locations in the comics are, there's a jungle, there's a royal mansion, obviously space, there's a castle, an old abandoned Nazi base. And at a lot of these different locations, she's going to be running into a lot of the different Batman villains. You're going to kind of get your start of the movie where she's going to be in Gotham with Batman, and it's going to be, you kind of see maybe the romance starting in there, but she's still pulling off these burglaries, and Batman is trying to stop her before she gets captured by this organization. And I think Javier Bardem plays a really good villain, and that he could head this organization that she could be trying to get to at the very end of the movie. And it's a really good graphic novel. I think it could make a really good story, a worldwide story with Catwoman where she's traveling all over and pulling off these crazy heists, showing off a lot of her skills. She gets to do a lot of action as well as a lot of the sneaky kind of stuff that Catwoman is known for with her burglaring. So I just think it's a really cool story to tell. And you get to see a lot of things that you don't usually see in a DC movie, like parts of the world, and villains in different locations.
All right. Alex, you got anything you'd like to ask?
No real questions for me. Mostly comments, so I'll wait until their debate is done.
All right. Yeah, Johnny, I understand your movie a bit. It's a horror movie. I assume it's rated R.
Yeah, we're gonna do it like Bobby kind of said with his. The best thing DC is doing right now is it's offshoot movies that don't connect to the rest of the universe. So we're gonna do that with mine, and it'll be like Joker style. It'll be R-rated. It'll be a horror movie. All
right. And Bobby, unlike when Johnny made his at $300 million, I understand yours is traveling around the world, but I don't fully see how this is a $300 million end game level movie.
Yeah, with that,
because you don't really have an expensive cast. I mean, it's real world locations, but I mean, it's no different than something like The Dark Knight or something, and this cast is cheaper.
Well, when you're actually traveling to multiple, because a lot of things when you shoot something on location, it's you're going to one or two different spots. They're going to go, and this is going to take multiple years to film, and they have to go to so many different locations. That costs a lot of money, especially when you have a crew. But I mean, you do have to pay, because this cast is returning. You have to pay them a pretty hefty fee, and a lot of them, Robert Pattinson is getting a lot of money, and even just to appear, he's going to get a lot of money. Colin Farrell is not cheap as Penguin. Zoe Kravitz now returning in that role, and she's going to be the lead like that. So the cast, and there's more in there, but basically the cast is going to cost a lot of money, and then location, and then in order to pull off a lot of the stunts, you're going to need a lot of the CGI elements around her, and a lot of the different places. So it's hard to find maybe necessarily a castle perfect for this where she can actually scale it. So you have to shoot at that location and then use CGI to build up what you really want it to look like in the background and all that. And as well as when you go to space and creating a space station and all that, that one sequence is going to cost, $50 to $60 million just to make one sequence like that with all the CGI. So, yeah.
All right. I'll let you hash it out.
You start, Bobby.
Yeah, so Johnny, yours, I really love the premise, but when the whole movie is just her in there and you know that she's seeing visions, what is the audience really grasping? Like, is she in danger? Is my one question. And then also, why is Scarecrow doing this to her? Is it just because he wants to mess with her? Why is he capturing her, is it niece that you said?
Yeah.
Like, what is his...
So mine's going to be based, like softly based on the Catwoman Scarecrow comic that came out years ago now. But basically in that movie, Scarecrow, or in that comic, sorry, Scarecrow captures Selena Kyle to like sell her to the highest bidder. I don't want to do that specifically, like sell her to the highest bidder, but we're going to explain that she robbed from Jonathan Crane and she stole stuff from him, and that is why that he's doing this to her. So she has experience, like there's a comic where she deals with Scarecrow and he makes her world kind of crazy, so that's what we're going to go off. But we're going to change the intention, and Jonathan Crane is like, you stole from me, so I am going to ruin your world. And you're going to realize that the stakes are high, and it's not completely all in her head. She has to figure out what is all in her head and what isn't, by like the Scarecrow is going to slash at her and it's going to cut her arm and she's going to actually be bleeding. So like she's like, some of this stuff like is actually happening. Like it's not what she's actually seeing, but something is obviously after her. So it's going to set up that it's real. Her life is at stake. Holly's life is at stake, but not everything that she's seeing. Like she has to figure out kind of what is actually coming after me. Is this actually Killer Croc, or can I just like jump to the end of the room or whatever? Or like, is something actually trying to kill me? So like, I like that aspect. It's going to have a lot of throwbacks and homages to styles of horror movies. And the thing with between each, like she goes to the graveyard and Solomon Grundy comes and he says his poem, you know, in the background. Between that, it's going to be similar to the Arkham games when the Scarecrow type of levels in the Arkham games, when he's like big and trying to get Batman and you have to like hide behind shit and stuff. It's going to be very like Scarecrow world. Like, okay, this isn't real, but if he gets me, I am dead. And that's why Scarecrow is going to be involved throughout.
Yeah. Is for Sam Raimi being your director, he likes to throw a lot of like corniness, at least like he has a particular style of humor he likes to throw in. Is that going to be in this? Because I don't know if that would fit, and if it doesn't, is that really Sam Raimi's style enough to have him be the director?
It's going to be closer to the style of Drag Me to Hell, which was a very, very good horror movie. One of the last good horror movies to come out, and that was like 2009. That doesn't have a lot of corniness and, you know, Sam Raimi type of stuff. But like, I know he did Evil Dead and Ash versus the Evil Dead, which are more fun movies, but also has some good horror sequences. We're going to take like the homages and put stuff in that. We're going to have some of the dialogue, like the ventriloquist is played by Robert Englund, and his dialogue is going to be close to like Freddy Krueger type of stuff. But as far as like tone of the movie, it's going to be closer to Drag Me to Hell type of horror, like legit horror movie.
Is Bruce Campbell in it?
Hey, Bruce Campbell is not.
All right.
All right. I think I've kind of figured out what.
Actually, no. Bruce Campbell voices Solomon Grundy. That's actually a good
there you
idea.
go. Right. That's actually pretty
Alex,
good.
You said you had comments. What were your?
Yeah, and it was around kind of the question you had asked Bobby. I think in my mind, I don't see how we're getting
Yours
a
is $300
million movie. It almost just feels like I don't know that it would feel like that expensive of a movie having it shot on location everywhere. And to be honest, I don't think that's a movie that intrigues me. I think Johnny's actually sounds like a super interesting twist on a movie that was absolute garbage the first time. So to see,
you don't like the basketball scene in that movie?
Oh yeah, that was going to be my question for this movie: is does yours have any reference to the original basketball scene in Catwoman?
No.
So as far as it goes, I think that Johnny definitely wins that one for me. It's actually a movie that sounds pretty interesting. I thought that it was an interesting rule choice. I assumed that at least one of you guys were going to go with making this a foreign film. To be honest, so it was a nice surprise to see that neither of you did that.
All right, yeah, I was gonna say I referenced before we started that I had a movie that had a rule that was an automatic win and an automatic loss. My automatic win would have been to make Catwoman like a South Korean action movie, and my automatic loss would be to put Tom Hardy's Bane in Catwoman because I'm like, that's just boring and lame, and you have no originality.
Yeah.
So I just received a private message, a message in the private chat that Johnny destroyed me on that one. I didn't like that Bobby didn't like his pitch.
That was the last movie that I had, and I did it, and I already know I lost that one. You guys, Joe, I already know you didn't like my pitch. So
yeah, that was my most passionate one. Like as far as movies that I want to see, the one that I pitched, if DC did that, I would be first in line. Like, okay, let's just only because the MCU's problem is that it's a fun universe, but everything connects. DC should just be like, instead of trying to copy, we're going to go all unique individual movies. And like mine was like, okay, let's go all out on that.
All right. So to my ruling, Johnny's, I will say I felt like Johnny used his rule a lot better. Like his felt like a horror movie throughout, and Bobby's felt like he was adding shit to get to like $300 million more than like this movie feels like it should be a $300 million. It's like where Johnny's space rat race felt like, yeah, like this would be a $300 million. This cast is set in space, like no shot is like a real shot. But outside of that, like I understand, I agree with what you guys are saying about DC should be separated, but I feel like his movie, like we took one character in the new Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman movies. We took that one character that's role could be super small or super big. We don't know because the movie hasn't come out yet. And then I'm just going to push it and do its own thing. And Johnny's, as he was talking, he said, as he was talking about his movie and what it'd be like, I was thinking to myself, this movie feels like it would be a better video game than a movie. And right as I thought that, he compared it to the Arkham video games, and Bobby's movie felt like basically Mission Impossible starring Catwoman. And Mission Impossible to me is the best action franchise right now. And Bobby says that I didn't like his pitch and that he lost. But to me, another negative against Johnny is I felt like it would switch tones too much of you're a slasher movie and now you're this type of horror movie and now you're this type of horror movie, where Bobby's I feel like would be a consistent throughout. And honestly, to me, even though he said I didn't like his pitch, I like Bobby's better than Johnny's.
All right. I'm surprised.
Or Johnny's, both of the movies felt
garbage.
Like good movies.
Yeah, I like my movie.
Insanity.
I
Bobby's
like my
movie. Sounds
movie.
bad. Bobby's movie is at most like $170 million. Like he doesn't even hit his rule. He failed his one job is to hit the rule. The highest Mission Impossible is like 150 million. That's bullshit. I am fighting that one because that's horse shit.
Well, it's your turn to pick a movie.
Yeah, well, fuck off. What are we even at? We have Three Amigos and
Three
Stripes.
Amigos, Space Jam, and
Space Jam.
No, we got 3 left. All right, well, we'll go with one that's going to be quick. Let's go Three Amigos.
Yeah, it will be pretty quick for both of us, I think.
Because who gives a shit about this movie?
Nobody. Yeah. All right, so Three Amigos, it received a 45. It's a 1986 movie that received a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wikipedia describes it as an American Western comedy film directed by John Landis and written by Lorne Michaels, Steve Martin, and Randy Newman, who wrote the songs for the movie. Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short star as the title characters, 3 silent film stars who are mistaken for real heroes by the suffering people of a small Mexican village. They must find a way to live up to their reputation and stop a marauding bandit.
All right.
And there you go.
Are you going first or second, Johnny?
I'll go first.
You?
Yep. I'm still just pissed at Joe. We're going to go with... my rule is I'm resurrecting an actor's career, but not only am I resurrecting an actor's career, I'm resurrecting 3 careers because my stars in the movie are Martin Sheen, Chevy Chase, and Steve Martin.
Martin Short or Martin Sheen?
Martin Short. Yep, I wrote the wrong thing. Okay, Martin Short. So I'm reprising the roles of the entire cast because their careers are all dead as far as movies are related, so we're resurrecting their careers. My pitch is retired actors that decide to give it one last go are invited to a Mexican village. They think it's an acting gig, but the woman who invited them thought they were real heroes. So you're going to have the same fun of the original. It's going to be a reboot. It's not going to be a sequel. It's a reboot, but they are older. I think the only way you can improve on the original Three Amigos is instead of them just being like actors that were popular that kind of dropped off the map, is they were actors that were super popular but are older and retired. So we're going to go with that aspect. We're going to have them be, they were the Three Amigos. That was their act. They were in all these famous movies. And this woman in Mexico thinks that that is actually them, hires them. They think it's an acting gig, but really it's to stop this El Guapo dude in Mexico. So that's my movie.
Who was your director? I missed that, if you said it.
I didn't say it. So give me 1 second on that.
All right. Well, I'll do my pitch, and you can find a director.
I had one,
yeah.
but I didn't write it down. So now I got to remember who it is.
All right. Well, my directors are John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, who did Game Night. And I really enjoyed that movie. That was like a surprise hit for me. And my rule is also that I'm resurrecting an actor's career, but I am not resurrecting all three. You could say I'm resurrecting two, but one of them is kind of on a comeback already. But my Steve Martin, it really doesn't matter who's who. My resurrecting a career is that I'm bringing in Mike Myers, who is he has not really done a comedy or many movies at all ever since The Love Guru. He's mostly gone into producing, and I love to see him bring back the comedy that he's known for from like the Austin Powers and all that. I love Mike Myers. My other two are going to be Eddie Murphy, who's kind of on a comeback right now and is going to start doing stand-up again and just did Dolomite, or My Name is Dolomite on Netflix. And Bill Hader. So this is going to be a SNL cast with all three. And then my El Guapo, the villain, is going to be Antonio Banderas. And really, Johnny's just literally making the exact same movie with the same actors, which doesn't make sense. This is going to be a retelling of that story with a modern comedic tone with John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. You get an SNL reunion. Bill Hader's amazing, and he's on a hot streak right now. I think he's going to play off the two older actors great. And it's the same premise. There's really nothing to change. It's just that you have Mike Myers, who's awesome. You have Eddie Murphy, who's great when he does his comedy, and he's on a comeback, and Bill Hader. And I think their dynamic is going to be great and not the exact same as the original.
All right, Alex, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Johnny, and it's kind of to Bobby's point right there. It's what makes your movie right now it just kind of sounds like it's the same movie with a little bit better of a camera that's being used to shoot it now. Like, what is it that really differentiates it from the original?
My main difference is, first of all, I remembered my director because I could not remember this name off the top of my head. It's Theodore Melfi. Theodore Melfi, who did St. Vincent, which was a great movie, but somehow also did Hidden Figures, which is very weird that he did both of those movies. But mainly I'm casting him because he did St. Vincent with Bill Murray, which is a very, very good movie. The thing that's going to differentiate this movie with the original, it's going to be less racist. And the other thing is, the first one is a good movie. Like, people don't care about it really. Like, I feel like that one is not one that people talk about in the modern day. It has a lot of like Mexican stereotypes. So we're just going to kind of throw that stuff out and we're going to make it a fun movie. The biggest difference in mine is in the other one, it doesn't really make sense that these dudes are like sought out to be the heroes of this city when they're like middle-aged men who should still be famous actors and instead are like brought in to do this act that apparently is like long dead. So in mine, they're going to be older dudes. They were very famous, but they're retired. They get together. They want to do one last thing and someone hires them. So I think that just makes more sense for the plot. So that is my biggest change, is that we're just going to update the plot. We're going to make it make more sense. We're going to modernize the humor a little by giving it someone more equipped for it.
I have quite a bit that I could rebut on that, but do you guys have questions?
Yeah, my question for you is basically, because yours basically sounds like the same thing, but with like a new cast. So my question for you is like, what separates yours from the original?
So the premise of the original, other than obviously like the stereotypes and stuff, is strong. And you're really going the movie for the 3 different characters. So when all you need to do is really update the humor to bring in guys who have just did a really good comedy. They also wrote Horrible Bosses and Spider-Man: Homecoming. Like they have a really good comedic sensibility to them. And you're just getting a different dynamic with Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy. You're like, the draw is that, okay, you're bringing back these SNL stars, and then you also have Bill Hader, who is big right now as well, to kind of help with that. And yeah, the movie is all about the characters. That's the whole reason the first one is good. So, you don't want to see those same 3 people again. You want to see a different dynamic, and I think that's what mine brings.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Alex, I was going to just cut to see if Alex had anything to say.
No, maybe one little nitpick at Bobby's as well. Just Antonio Banderas as El Guapo. Is there any reason you didn't choose to go with, I guess,
an SNL
comedic?
What's that?
Yeah, with an SNL person
because
or
El Guapo in the movie, he's not really in there a ton, and when he is, he doesn't need to be the comedian, because the 3 guys leading it are comedians. So if you have someone who's a little bit more intimidating and serious, you can draw the comedy out of the other 3 about how they react to it. And because that was the one thing that's good about Game Night, the villains in that movie are not comedic. They're actually pretty serious and dangerous villains, and that makes everyone else reacting around them more funny and believable in how they would react, because they're just normal people in this like crazy situation, in with this case, a drug lord.
Okay, here's my thing. Game Night is a great comedy. I think that's, again, one of the best comedies that's come out in like the last 10, 20, 30 years. The best thing in that movie is that it's all kind of dry humor. There's no big gags. You're like the 3
shot through the arm.
Yeah, but like that whole scene is, the funniest part of that scene is she subtly just cuts way too big into his arm, and it's super funny, but it's not like after that he goes crazy and has this big reaction to it. He's just like, oh my God, you cut way too much. Sorry, I burped. So your movie.
But the other movie they did that they wrote that has that outrageous humor is Horrible Bosses. They can do both, and they've done both.
But even Horrible Bosses, okay, Horrible Bosses was good. I like that movie because of the cast. But here's my problem with your movie. I feel like your cast sucks. First of all, Mike Myers is not good anymore. Like, that dude should not be in movies. I looked at Resurrecting Career, and I thought of literally putting Mike Myers in my movie, and I was like, nah. First of all, he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve to have his career resurrected after The Love Guru. That is how bad and problematic that movie was. So get him the fuck out. Like, do not resurrect his career. He doesn't deserve it. He's not funny anymore. He's never really been that funny. Like, even in Wayne's World and even in Shrek, like, he is the worst part of all of those things.
That
like,
is very subjective. Very, very subjective.
It's not. Like, it's not. Like, he's
Myers.
No, Mike Myers is okay. Like, he's fine. But, like, now that he's old, like, he's better to be in the shitty Bohemian Rhapsody movie as just like, oh, look, it's Mike Myers. Like, he's not actually funny, but it's funny to be like, that's Mike Myers. Like, it's funnier to say Mike Myers is in that cameo than it is to be like Mike Myers actually stars in this movie. So to get rid of that, and Bill Hader is only good. He is very good at being the dry humor, subtle character, like in Barry and like in It Part 2. But it doesn't work in Three Amigos. If you try to combine dry humor and Three Amigos, doesn't work. Not the same movie. Very bad. The whole movie is outrageous comedy of, we walk into this town and these are actual drug dealers and we're going to do our dance and do our thing.
Yeah.
And
You're
that's the
focusing-
funniest part. But your movie is like, okay, we're going to take away all of the things that were actually funny about Three Amigos and throw in like the directors of Game Night and Bill Hader into it that are good at dry
because
humor.
this is going to be a modern comedy. You cannot remake the movie and have the same comedy, especially with the same actors.
You definitely can,
No, Johnny,
because
listen,
comedies now are bad, and
not
a movie that is good, that is not dry humor, is 21 and 22 Jump Street. My movie is going to have more of the humor of that movie, where it's more outrageous, like fun comedy. And yours, as far as the actors you picked, are people that aren't good at doing subtlety.
so.
There's
That's the whole
never
thing.
been anything subtle
Johnny.
about Mike Myers.
Johnny, that's the whole point. So you need different dynamics, especially nowadays in modern movies. If you're going to have the outrageous stuff, you have to have the straight man type character, the dry character that can have the sly remarks. And that's going to be my Bill Hader. So because you're not going to make Three Amigos again and have the same humor again, where they're all three outrageous. You can have one of the characters be a little different than the original. You know, he can be the dry humor, and that can go along very well with the others, because the others can do this outrageous thing, and he's just like the "Are you kidding me?" straight man, but have these sly, hilarious remarks that'll make the audience laugh. And then
Except
you have
what I want mine to be is
the same movie.
The reason that they are older is because you are going to use the same humor as Three Amigos, but everyone around them, instead of acting like they do in the original movie, is going to be acting like nowadays people. Like, what is happening? Like, why are you acting like this is like the 80s and you're popular, right? Your movie is just modern people. Antonio Banderas can't be funny. Like, he's not. Like, even in Spy Kids, like, he's not funny, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think you keep arguing the same points back and forth. So my question,
we're going through the same thing.
Alex, how are you feeling about this?
I have my decision, and
Because how I'm feeling is I'm kind of torn, because I feel like Bobby is more like, hey, here's like a modern take on Three Amigos with a new cast that's like kind of the same age as the original cast, but the plot's still kind of generally the same, maybe a little less racist. Where Johnny's like, hey, I'm going to take the same type of humor, but I'm going to change the setup. So I feel like it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Here's one thing. My pitch is basically, the reason I cast the people from the original is because I think this movie works good and better if you say, I'm casting older people that knew humor in the 80s. That
you said this.
Yeah, you've said this.
Johnny, you said
this today.
I still don't think, I don't know why anyone would want to go see the movie again if they can watch it on the shelf.
Everyone around them is going to react like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, that should have been more of the original, of everyone around them reacting like these people are crazy. That's going to be mine, and it's going to make more sense because these people thought they were funny in the 80s, and everyone currently is going to be like, what the fuck's happening? Like, why are you acting that way? It's just like, oh, we're going to just do the same movie, but we're going to modernize it in a movie that does not need to be modernized.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, so my thing is, I'm torn. So Alex, if you're feeling like you have a clear winner, I'm going to turn it over to Alex to make the decision.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't love either rule usage. I somewhat agree with Johnny on, I'm just not a fan of Mike Myers.
Yep.
But I also understand kind of the reasoning behind pitching him. I still feel like Johnny still feels like basically a remake that's going to be the same thing, except they're older. And I just don't really think that's that interesting. I think what sold me is I actually really like Bobby's directors. I like the idea of the guys from Game Night and Horrible Bosses being the ones who are put in charge of this. So for me, it's Bobby.
All right, yeah.
All right.
I kind of agree. I think if Johnny had done the same thing of make them older, but also made them like not the original 3, but older, I would have been more on board.
All right.
But
it was a hard one. I thought about Mike Myers, honestly, for mine, but I was like, he's terrible, and no one ever needs Mike Myers.
I like him. But hey, I gotta run to the bathroom really quick. If you guys want to take a mini break before this next round.
Well, fam, we'll go to our sponsor, Hams. It's got 2 M's. 1 M is for multiple orgasms. That's all I really got to say. That's definitely the ad that we were for sure paid for by Hams. If you like a 30 rack that is under $10, get Hams. Not available everywhere, mainly only in college towns.
Yeah, Hams,
Hams.
Made by Mad Men Mad Men star John Hamm.
Yeah, John Hamm's beer brand. John Hamm made Hams.
Look for the bear on the bottle or on the can.
I'm so pissed I lost about fucking Catwoman, and Bobby's winning right now. This is
your movie I felt like was too like.
My movie was good, and Bobby's was.
I feel like even if you did like Bobby's more, the fact that he in the group chat. I
had mine made up, and then like I'm like, oh, what's in the private chat? And then I'm like, why would you say you lost? Because I was just like, I was ready to
flag.
Yeah, I'm still pissed at Joe about that. That was the worst judging ruling we've had in any episode, I think. Like, even including anything at all, that was the worst.
Oh, considering we had Get the Organs from the Gorgons beat whatever the fuck.
Take the Organs from the Gorgons was a funny ass song, and you cast bullshit into yours. And they run across the desk. Oh, where's the live? I forgot.
Did you make a pick on the next movie, John?
No, we didn't get that far. It's either Stripes or Space Jam.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna go with fucking Space Jam. I don't know. We'll go.
That's why I'm wearing this jersey. I can't find my phone.
Joe's got Toon Squad. Okay, let's go with it.
All right. Space.
Bobby, you go first. Do not care.
All right.
Wait, let me describe Space Jam. Space Jam.
Space Jam a horror movie, Bobby.
It's a 1996 movie with a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is 57% too low. It's Space Jam. I don't need to describe it. It's Michael Jordan. He plays basketball with the Looney Tunes against animated aliens. That's Space Jam. There you go.
All right. So currently, they're maybe in talks to make like a legit Space Jam 2. The problem is the original
They're filming it, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're.
Now.
I mean, I don't know if they're able to film it. Right. I mean, it's only one actual actors probably for the most of the movie, so they probably could do some of it. But regardless, I don't think people are going to even care about that because the original, like our generation, yeah, like I'm going to care. I'm actually going to care about it. But in general, the populace is not going to care because people that were old enough at that time say that they just hated that movie. I don't understand it because I love it, but you know what? So I'm going to completely change it up. And my movie is going to be directed by Jordan Peele. My cast is it is going to be LeBron James and the Looney Tunes, and I am making it a horror movie. So this is going to be a cartoon slasher version of Space Jam. So a new version of the aliens show up and the Looney Tunes anticipate they will make them play a basketball game again. They capture LeBron early before the aliens actually describe what they want. Instead, they intend to take over the Looney Tune world, and it becomes a cartoon slasher movie with LeBron James trying to survive along with his Toon friends. He realizes at the end, realizes at the end of the movie that he does not have to obey the laws of physics and starts stretching his limbs, growing and shrinking himself and doing all the Toon stuff. He's working with Bugs Bunny, who at that point is the only Looney Tune left to defeat the aliens. Once the aliens leave and the Toons actually start coming back to life since they cannot actually die, and LeBron is pissed that they did not tell him that in the first place. And he goes back to Earth scarred for life.
All right, Johnny, if your movie has basketball in it, you're doing a lot better than Bobby is.
Yeah, Bobby sounds very bad. Okay, so we're going to go with... All right.
I was trapped.
Bobby, garbage. The Looney Tunes challenge aliens to a basketball game to prevent them from taking them hostage at their space theme park. The aliens go and steal talent from NBA players Joel Embiid, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, James Harden, and everyone's boy, J.R. Smith. The new and improved aliens dunk all over the Looney Tunes. Bug says he knows just the person to help. While golfing with Shaq, Ernie Johnson, and Charles Barkley, Steph Curry is sucked down the hole of the 9th green. The Looney Tunes tell Steph they need him to win against the aliens. They play the game. With the help from Steph's special stuff, Bill Murray, and a little heart, The Toon Squad is down 1 point with 10 seconds left. Steph realizes he can be a cartoon in this world, so he jumps to dunk the basketball from his own free throw line. Now here's where my rule comes in. While he is flying through the air, the basketball court starts to crumble underneath him, and all the toons and aliens fall in. Steph dunks it and looks back to see the court was blown up. Cut to Bane coming out of the tunnel with the trigger. Take control! Take control of the Looney Tune land! This is instrument of your liberation! So my rule is it's including Tom Hardy as Bane. My movie is going to be basically Space Jam, but at the end, Tom Hardy murders all of them.
All right. Alex, do you got anything you want to say right now?
Yeah. Bobby, just do you what makes it Space Jam other than there's a basketball player that plays in the movie?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's more, this is going to be as if the normal, like the Space Jam exists and that's what people expect the movie to be. And then it just goes bonkers. So like everyone in the movie at that point, the setup, you think that's where it's going. And then it just flips the tables on you and makes this crazy movie. So you're going to have, you're going to have basketball like, in the beginning, like with LeBron James. And you'll have them practicing before the aliens actually say what they're going to do. So they'll like prep, like they're going to play this basketball game and they're going to come down and just start killing people.
All right, Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say right now?
Yeah. Well, just a question for Johnny.
All right.
And that's, does it literally just end with Bane killing? That's
Bane murders the shit out of all of them and then it ends.
So, yeah. I don't think either. I think both of our pitches are terrible. I think both.
These might be the two worst pitches of the night.
My pitch is literally Space Jam, so it will all play out fun. Like, okay, you still get Steph Curry in the basketball game. You get Steph special stuff. You get Bill Murray there to say, "I don't play defense." You get the whole movie, but then at the end, you get Bane murdering the shit out of them and being like, "Take control."
So it's the same movie again, exactly, like kind of like you did Three Amigos, except this time you added a weird, crazy ending. But the ending is worse. It's worse than the original.
Charismatic people, because Michael Jordan is a shit actor, cannot act. So we're gonna throw Steph Curry, who's better. We're gonna taking the talent from literal trash NBA players and throw in Joel Embiid, who's fucking entertaining as hell. Chris Paul, who does commercials, who's my least favorite player in the league, but he does commercials, right? So Blake Griffin, he's also entertaining. He's going to say they're going to take the talent away from people that are going to be legitimately entertaining and have actual talent.
Except J.R. Smith.
Yeah, and J.R. Smith is funny because they're going to take J.R. Smith away.
He beat the shit out of the guy that tried to break his car.
Yeah, so like when they cut to the game, the dude who took J.R. Smith's talent is just gonna like be running the wrong direction and shooting and missing, and it's gonna be funny because he's gonna be like, I took the talent from someone who fucking sucks. Like, damn, that's terrible. So like everyone's gonna be good except like the blue dude who got like J.R. Smith's talent. He's just gonna be like racking up shots that go over the backboard. So like my movie's gonna have more comedy. And Bane's gonna fucking kill them all at the end. Come on, that's great.
My premise sounds ridiculous, but
your premise sounds garbage.
But every Jordan Peele movie like that he makes.
Do not put Jordan Peele in a Space Jam movie. Jordan Peele makes the best movies nowadays.
I don't care what anyone says.
Space Jam.
I do not.
Oh my god.
So if
Francis Ford Coppola is going to record the.
I agree with Spinner 58. Can they both lose? Animated horror makes no sense, but neither does Bane. Yes,
Bane 58 is the rule that I was trapped into, and it's funny as shit.
I agree with you.
So my thing is, if I go to see a Space Jam movie, and then like 30 minutes in, it's now a fucking horror movie, I'm gonna feel like, what the fuck is this? But at least with Johnny's, I get like an hour and 20 minutes of Space Jam, and the last 10 minutes, I get fucking like, what the fuck is this?
You're good.
And to me, this is like a clear-cut decision of, Johnny wins because he made Space Jam a movie that I want to see. Bobby made a weird Looney Tunes horror movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like Johnny wins, even though I don't want to say that because I still hate the ending.
You love the ending. You love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both
Take
of you used the
control!
rules terribly. Both of I mean, you're kind of locked into your cast. Like, you're not going to have great actors in your cast. And then so it came to pitches. It's like Johnny won. Johnny won.
Damn right.
I think they were both terrible, but I know mine just wasn't Space Jam, so that's fine.
All right.
Yeah,
So
mine was literally Space
Bobby,
Jam, but then Bane murders the shit out of them.
Bobby, who's doing Stripes first?
I'll
And the score I forgot to say because I kind of
Four
not
to
been doing
four.
good at this.
Somehow, even though I won Catwoman, which showed
it's
bad
4-4
at judging.
with Stripes.
yeah, so I think Johnny's. I think I know what your last rule is, which is interesting for this one.
I never pay attention to who's. You
Yeah.
could have used the same rule twice. I probably.
Joe don't know.
I'm gonna let Johnny go first.
All right, so Stripes. It's I'll go down to Stripes. Put that on the screen for you YouTube watchers. All right, Stripes. It's a 1981 movie, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, which honestly is higher than I expected.
Same.
It's a war comedy starring Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and directed by Ivan Reitman. According to the back of my DVD, because Wikipedia summary and the IMDb summary and the Rotten Tomatoes summary were all crap. When John Winger, played by Bill Murray, loses his apartment, girlfriend, and job all in one day, he does what any red-blooded American would do. He joins the army and nearly starts World War III. There we go. That's Stripes.
All right, so I go first. So, if anyone is actually paying attention to these rules, my Stripes is going to be a foreign film, which I think works actually pretty well for this movie when you make it set in South Korea. So my director is Bong Joon-ho, who directed The Host and Parasite and a million amazing movies. Probably the best working director nowadays, right? So I'm going to star Woo Sik Choi. He was in Parasite as the son. He was basically the lead. He was also in Train to Busan as the baseball player. It also stars Steven Yeun as the friend, who's basically in the Egon role. Forget his name.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis role. He was in Burning, which is an amazing movie on Netflix if you haven't seen it. Also in Okja. And then my girls in the movie are going to be Tyree Kim, who is in The Handmaiden. Sodam Park, who was Jessica, the sister in Parasite. And this is my pitch. Oh, and my sergeant is going to be played by Kang Ho Song, who is in Parasite, a taxi driver, the host. He is basically known as the Daniel Day-Lewis of South Korea. He is the best actor probably in the world, but in South Korea, he's known as the best actor. So here's my pitch. Two friends have both lost their jobs. They decide the best thing they can do is join the South Korean army. They do not take the army seriously, especially over the top sergeant. They sneak in and out of camp, meet women, and go on adventures with the other soldiers in the unit. Things get more serious when North Korea attacks and captures some of the unit and friends of the two leads. They must sneak into North Korea and rescue their fellow soldiers. So obviously my rule for this movie, I'm making it a foreign film. We're going to make it a dark comedy, and Bong Joon-ho is going to direct it. That's my movie.
Bobby.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. Well, we have similar premises, but with just a different rule involved. So I'll start with so my director. I have Catherine Bigelow. For my John Winger, who is Bill Murray, I have Oscar Isaac. Russell Ziske, who is Harold Ramis, I have Anthony Mackie. Sergeant Hulka, I have Tommy Lee Jones. And Captain Stillman, who's their commanding officer during camp, I have Russell Crowe. So my synopsis is this. John Winger is a New York cab driver and is unsatisfied with his life. He decides to give purpose to his life and wants to join the army and talks his friend Russell, a substitute teacher, to join him. The movie is a more dramatic, basic training movie throughout the first part when they're there. And at first, because they're older and struggle, they have to repeat after initially failing, but then when they do it the second time, they end up graduating and becoming leaders amongst the group. They are then sent to the Middle East for the first assignment. During an attack on their camp, it looks like they're going to be killed. And John and Russell lead a group that brings all of the attackers into one building where they keep all their arsenal, their weapons, and explosives. As they allow other men to escape through the back, John and Russell set up explosives and sacrifice themselves to save the camp and take out the attackers. So this is a tearjerker ending. The ending after that, it is the funeral, which talks about how they are now heroes because of what they did saving the camp. And this is going to be more about, it's a interesting tale of these guys who they're unsatisfied with their lives. They end up giving meaning to their lives, but at the same time they lose them. So was it worth it? They become these heroes, but they lost their lives. It's kind of that dilemma of, should they have gone? Should they have not? If they didn't go, would their men have died? But at the same time, they would have lived. So it's kind of that thought process for the movie.
All right. Johnny, I missed it. So in your movie, did they go anywhere?
What do you mean? They go to North Korea.
Oh, okay, North Korea. Yeah,
That's the Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, it's like going into Wisconsin. Yeah,
it's like going into Wisconsin, right? Like we're going to North Korea. Right. So okay, here's my thing with Bobby's movie. Stripes is, to me, one of my favorite comedies of all time. Now, I know some people say the second half is not as good as the first half, but I disagree. Stripes from start to finish is a perfect comedy film. Bobby made his a tearjerker movie with no comedy, made it a serious movie. Total garbage. Like, who gives a shit? Like, do not care.
I wasn't going to be as harsh, but my question to Bobby is, how is your movie Stripes? In the military. How is your movie different than like any other military
like brothers?
So, I mean, the big thing a lot of times now is to bring these dramatic takes on older either films or TV shows. One of the things that inspired me for this was this idea to me sounded terrible, which they are, but when I watched the trailer for it, it was actually a really good idea. They're remaking The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air right now, but with a dramatic retelling. It sounds terrible. It sounds awful. I hated the idea. And Will Smith is involved, but I watched that trailer and I'm like, oh, you can actually take something that was a comedy but had deeper elements to it and bring the dramatic stuff to the forefront, and it works really well. And the reason that I chose like Oscar Isaac and Anthony Mackie, because they are very charismatic. Like, it's not going to be a comedy, but it's not going to be super dark and serious the whole time, which is why it's tragic that you lose them at the end, because they can banter and they're entertaining throughout. Because, regardless of the level of humor, you're watching that first one for the lead actors and you're kind of doing the same thing for this one. And it's just telling a more dramatic tale. You're going to pull people in that liked, like they recognize the Stripes name and just give them this different version of what could have happened in a modern setting and what can actually happen in real life. And I think it's an important story to tell. And you get the dilemma of, is it worth it to be a hero?
Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, just from a comment perspective, more so than a question. I feel like when it comes to military movies, we have so many that are serious or tearjerkers already. Kind of, where's the differentiator? So I guess I do have a question. Where's the differentiator from how all the other military movies? I think what makes Stripes so good is that it is a comedy.
I mean,
a different way of telling a story with.
War movies, unless you are doing a comedy, I mean, you're going to have similar, at least premises, but a lot of the times there is at least the happiness of like one of the lead characters. A lot of lead characters end up making it, or they save the person they're trying to save, whatever it is. You're losing both your main actors and I just feel like the actual theme that they're putting into this movie is a little different than a lot of war films to me, where you're taking these average Joes. A lot of times they're these young guys going in, and it's just their actual thing. I just feel like someone who's a little older in their life, like Oscar Isaac is in his 40s. joining the war instead. Just it gives a different premise. It's almost a fish out of water, but more dramatic because of you have the older guys trying to keep up with the younger recruits, which can lead to fun. Like it's not a dour movie the whole time. It's just that ending is like, oh wow, that type of thing. So that's kind of what I'm getting at with mine.
All right, and I have a question for Johnny. So basically, like when Bobby did his foreign film, we talked about how it didn't translate because it was going to be PG-13 and not R. So if you're going to make a foreign comedy, how is the comedy going to translate to an American audience?
So my comedy is going to translate because Parasite, for the most part, until the end, is a dark comedy. It's a black comedy. That movie holds up and is as good as it is because of the comedy in it. Now it turns at the end. I'm not going to spoil Parasite. Everyone see that movie. It's amazing. But
it's on Hulu, I think.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. Go see it. Like, that movie's comedy is so good. And you don't need to rely on anything else other than, hey, like, these are the words of the movie. So, like, that's going to be mine. Like, you're going to have subtitles, and it's still going to be funny because it's from Bong Joon-ho, who is probably the best director working today. So, like, his black comedy works, and you can do that with a military movie. The only thing relevant today to Stripes involving, like, the, like, Cold War is nowadays between South Korea and North Korea. Nothing else really is similar to that aspect. So you are going to modernize it, but it's still going to be similar. You're going to have dry humor, and you are going to have black humor. That works very well for Stripes. Stripes is a comedy. There is not one thing in any military movie that is tear-jerking, because, like the Joker says in The Dark Knight, when people who are supposed to be murdered are murdered, or people who are supposed to be killed are killed, it's not sad. It's not surprising. When military people get killed, it's not sad. It's just like, oh, well, they were in the military. Like, no one's crying at your movie. Like, there's no tearjerker military movie. Like, it just like, oh, a soldier died. Okay, well, that's expected. Like, I'm sorry, that's like a tough thing to like accept for some people, but like for sure, like your people are in the military, they died, that's expected. Who cares? No one cares. No one's crying at your movie. Stripes is a comedy. There are 1.5 million serious action drama military movies. The thing that the world is missing are comedy movies. So let's throw in one that has to do with North Korea and South Korea, and we'll make it a dark comedy. Boom. We made a movie that works in South Korea, and it works in America for anyone who actually likes Bong Joon-ho movies.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the actual, like the tearjerker stuff, I mean, it's very rare that you see, like, you have your two leads that are these you're following, and they are triumphing. They hit their low in almost, 3-act movie. Character is high, they hit their low, they go back up, and they at the end of the movie they succeed. It's rare that even in a war movie where they are triumphant in that, where they graduate and are like leading their class, and it's very inspiring, and then to have them die at the end. I don't think there's a lot of movies that do that. If characters that die at the end, a lot of the time it's like a struggle the whole movie, and it's more expected, like, oh, are they going to live or die? This one, you don't really get that vibe throughout most of the movie. It's them trying to make something of their lives, and it looks like they've done it, and then you get them being the heroes at the end. So,
and no one cares. Like, that's my thing. Like I don't know. No one's crying about your movie. Like, I get, like, the tearjerker rule ending. I feel like your movie doesn't satisfy, because no one's crying at the end of yours. They're just like, oh yeah, they were in the army and they died. Like, that's just how the world works. Like, no one's crying. Mine, I made it a foreign film. I made it actually represent what is happening in modern times. With North Korea and South Korea, you could, you have in Parasite, you have them mock the Kim Jong-un like style of leadership. You have that dark comedy that works in Parasite. I want a full movie of that. I want a full movie of the comedy in Parasite, which is amazing and some of the best comedy that we've had in a long time. And as far as transitioning to modern audiences or American audiences, my movie works because Parasite did. It will have just as much violence and it will have just as much humor, maybe more humor than Parasite did. So it will be just as popular in America as Parasite. And Bong Joon-ho is an incredible director. So,
right. Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say? I think I have where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, I basically think that Johnny's pitch. I like his idea more. I like his rule, and I like the fact that it stays a comedy. I don't necessarily think that I agree fully with the fact that you wouldn't care about Bobby's people dying, because if you make people care about them enough, since they are the main characters throughout the movie, I think that you could still build an arc that makes sense where people would be upset by that, and it could still be a tearjerker. But at the end of the day, when I think of Stripes, I think of a comedy. So that's why I got to give it to Johnny.
Yeah, I agree with Alex here. So that's why I'm giving Johnny the win. I feel like if I walked into Bobby's movie and someone said this is a Stripes reboot, I'm gonna walk out of that movie and I'm gonna feel like they just took the title and did something completely different, and it's not really like a Stripes reboot. It's just like a movie that also has two guys in the military. So yeah, I'm giving Johnny the win.
I don't mind that ruling.
Number one.
Yeah, I would see Johnny's movie. So
same.
Yeah, like it was so close. You guys had so many pitches that were just like back and forth, and like on another day, I might have gone the other way. But
yeah, I felt like it was back and forth for most of it. But I knew Stripes was one. I was like, I don't know if this works, but I'm gonna just try to sell it and give them a more detailed pitch because I don't know what I'm doing with this tearjerker ending.
Yeah, should have made it Hancock, baby.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. Some of us are good at this and some of us are bad at this. Bobby's 0-3. So
I'm 0-3, but
that answers that question.
Come down to the last one.
Bobby's lost by one on every one.
And I think I've been winning by one going into the last two rounds each time.
Yeah.
And I've lost the last two.
Okay, but we're not gonna fucking count this one because I should have won Catwoman. I should have beat you 6-3. It's not even close. Joe's just bad at judging. Whatever.
Well, you get to judge next week because next week I think it's me and Alex going against each other on Friday.
Yeah, I'm gonna crush the shit out of you guys.
Each other. So we're gonna.
Johnny, so I'll be like,
Johnny, what's your Venmo? I need to make sure I can get some wins. On
pay me up. All right, pay me.
All right. I can just end the broadcast at any time. So as soon as I get a lead, I'm like, oh, broadcast is over. I guess technically I won.
That's probably a good idea, except that I will just never give Joe a lead now.
Well, I guess technically that's not true because I guess Johnny's running the stream next week.
Teach him. All right.
So Alex, what was your favorite pitch of everyone's?
Catwoman.
And, any final thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was Johnny's Catwoman. Coming into looking at the list of everything, I would not have guessed that Catwoman would have my favorite pitch, but I also wouldn't have guessed that I would hear two separate pitches for Jurassic Park. Fast and Furious.
It's Fast and Furious. I still contend that mine was so much better than Bobby's over that.
No,
I can't believe you guys.
So what I did that and I wrote out my whole pitch, and then I remembered that I think Nick Mundy on movie fights pitched a Jurassic Park Fast and Furious crossover movie. I'm like, I hope they don't dock me for this, but we both had the same idea. So you know what?
I did not remember that. I just thought that fucking the only person that could be Dominic Toretto's father is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's the only thing that makes sense with how he sounds and looks. The only way he exists is a dinosaur made him. So that was my judging behind that.
All right, Bobby, what was your favorite pitch of Johnny's, and any other final thoughts?
Honestly, my favorite pitch of his was his Catwoman. Fuck
up, Joe.
So I mean, I did have some minor nitpicks, and I liked my movie. It's not that I was like disappointed mine won or anything. I really did like mine, but I thought that I would have liked to see. But also, my hardest one for me to actually battle him at a fight was Stripes, that very last one. It was one of the ones that I wrote it out and I didn't love it, but I just kind of had to go with it because I didn't really want to make any of the other ones a tearjerker ending. So it happens.
Could have made a Hancock.
And Johnny, our winner, what was your favorite pitch of Bobby's, and any other final thoughts?
I mean, my thing with Bobby's is this: like, if he made that Rat Race DC movie, but just recast everyone, I literally would not have been able to fight it. But like, since he cast like terrible actors as the terrible characters they played, I was like, well, your movie lost. But like, if he was just like, I'm gonna recast the Riddler and I'm gonna recast Mr. Freeze, like, or if he made that animated or the Lego movie, that would have been the hardest thing. So I really, really loved everything about Bobby's pitch, except that he cast the same people that played those roles before.
Yeah,
so that was probably the thing.
I have my reasons for that, but that's more of personal taste, I think, of what I think of a Lord and Miller movie.
Yeah, I think my favorite pitch for Bobby was definitely Jurassic Park. Of just as soon as I was picturing Dominic Toretto driving cars against dinosaurs, I'm like, well,
I literally had Dominic Toretto driving cars against literal dinosaurs. So fuck off.
Yeah, but you had Velociraptors driving the cars. As soon as you said that, you were done. I knew Bobby was going to win that one. And then my favorite pitch of Johnny's was probably his Hancock pitch.
That one was good.
I liked that one a lot. I felt the most passionate about that and Catwoman, and Joe went away from Catwoman.
I love my Nicolas Cage one. I was mad I didn't win that point. I know, but yours was good. It's not that I didn't think yours was good, but going into it like that.
Yeah, so.
I'm so over Matthew Vaughn until he proves himself again. Like, that dude needs to make a good movie. He has not made one in a while.
Yeah, so we'll be streaming again next week on Friday. It's going to be me and Alex versus each other with Johnny and Bobby judging. And, until next time, take the organs from the Gorgons.